So 5 days from today, we will have kickoff in 4 hours. From Dublin, Iowa State at Kansas State, 11 a.m. on ESPN. You'll get Idaho State at UNLV after that. Fresno at Western Kentucky. Stanford at Hawaii. Week 0, we are here. It's game week, Greg. We made it. We made it to game week.
Week 0, turn up. Farmageddon from Dublin.
What does Farmageddon mean?
It means that's the name of the rivalry game, kind of. Or one of them.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Of
Kansas State, Iowa State.
It's called Farmageddon?
I'm calling it that.
Oh, I was going to say, I've never heard that. That was one that I missed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Farmageddon's like the name of a real game.
But some things that maybe we would need to pay attention to quickly before we go into Alabama and some injury news from over the weekend. Iowa State, Kansas State. We mentioned this last week. Like Iowa State, y'all need to be watching out for. This is a team that could really put together a good season. Has the makings of being like a Matt Campbell special with an upgraded quarterback. Just be careful there. Kansas State, are your expectations as high for K-State as they have been the last couple of years? Not that they can't put a good season together. I don't think that Chris Kleiman's ever going to let the thing fall off the map. He's got his way. He's got his system. His guys play a certain way. Therefore, there's a lot of years they're going to be who they are regardless, and they're not going to be a team that I think we look at and say, oh, well, just don't have to worry about them. You'll be able to steamroll K-State. I just feel like 2 of the last maybe 4 or 5 years, we've had really high expectations for Kansas State. You've got Avery Johnson at quarterback, so it feels like it could be a solid season, but this kind of plays into what you've been talking about with the Big 12, Greg, just how deep that league might be this year.
Really, really deep. But I think Kansas State's one of those teams that I don't know how they're going to get there. They're going to get to 8 wins at least. And that means they're going to lose a couple they probably shouldn't lose. They're going to win a couple they probably shouldn't win. And there's going to be a point in the season where you're like, what the heck's wrong with Kansas State? There's going to be a point in the season where you're like, you know what? Kansas State's a real playoff contender. Like, they're one of those teams that could go either way. Now, I think Avery Johnson, their quarterback's got a chance to take a big step. A little inconsistent last year. But my biggest concerns with Kansas State is their best teams have been teams that were built from the inside out. They, over the last couple of years, have really had quite a bit of turnover on the offensive and defensive lines. And they're not one of those teams that's just going to plug and play, rinse and repeat, all as well along the offensive line. They're a developmental program, and Cole, their best teams have had great offensive line play. That's not the case this year, more than likely, based on known commodities.
Well, you go get a tackle in George Fitzpatrick from Ohio State, so talent there. Sam Hecht is back at center. You might be better there. And here's the really good news for Kansas State. You may have really upgraded at wide receiver because they got Jerron Tibbs from Purdue, and everybody on earth that gets a transfer from Purdue, that player is a lot better than they were at Purdue. So that actually might work out really well for Kansas State. Also, Jerron Bradley transfer in at wide receiver from BC and Texas Tech. So that third go-around, that's usually the year for guys to start to shine in college football. So we'll see if the receiver position can be upgraded there. Idaho State at UNLV. Obviously, the Dan Mullen era will begin there at UNLV. We saw what this last staff under Barry Odom was able to do, exceeded expectations by a mile. Put together, and I don't say this lightly, some of the best seasons in UNLV football history. That's real.
I don't think it's some. I think it's the 2 best.
Well, no, they had a couple other, like 2 other standout years, so it would be in the mix with those. But yes, like 2 maybe top 5 seasons all time. So can Dan Mullen keep that rolling? Anthony Orji in, potentially a quarterback. How's that going to go? And then Fresno at Western Kentucky, Stanford at Hawaii a little bit later on next Saturday. We'll have live tackle football, though, on your televisions, and then that will be unbelievable. Some live tackle football in Tuscaloosa over the weekend with the scrimmage that took place that did have some consequences. First, a recap from Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer on just his takeaways from Saturday.
Offense did some nice things early. Has to do a better job of sustaining it. And the defense doing a good job of responding. That's really general, but that's kind of how the scrimmage went. So got a lot of red zone work in at the end, slowly building up, and got some reps on that. Tuesdays and Thursdays practice was really good from some live action. So from Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, and again today, We've got a lot of tackling in, a lot of work, full pads, and so I like just kind of the stamina we've had that way, and just how much tackling we've had.
So there you go. Some physicality that took place in this scrimmage for Kalen DeBoer over the weekend. Some updates before we get to the headliner of the weekend. Jaden Roberts, James Smith, O-line, D-line, both been a little bit dinged up. Kalen DeBoer updates their status.
2 guys that didn't scrimmage today, Jaden and James, same as last week. James is actually starting with him. James has been working through and building up. Feel good about the progress he's had in the week of practice, and with it being live, needed to hold back there, but he's getting closer by the day. Jaden has a concussion. Just tell you what it is, and he's going through the protocol of that, and so hasn't done anything from a team standpoint, starting work back into that protocol, which included being out there today, but not participating in the scrimmage.
I like that the fact that he's missed 2 practices or 2 scrimmages, Greg, the last 2 is because of a concussion. I don't like the fact that it's been this long in camp that he hasn't been out there. That would tell me to maybe be a little bit wary of that early in the season, because I promise you, playing on the line of scrimmage, you're never in good enough shape week 1. You just aren't. You're not. I'll go back to the whole Clowney thing when the SEC network started and everybody's getting all on him and whatnot, and I realized he was a guy that took some plays off during his career, but like you're never in good enough shape week 1. You're just not. You're not used to it. You're never used to actual game speed and the adrenaline and the crowd and everything that's going to get going. So you take an offensive lineman. Trust me, I've been there. I've been out in the preseason and then tried to come back. Like your wind, your conditioning is something that now becomes a real concern for Alabama inside early on.
Yeah, and frankly, the other guys have had pretty good camps, so it's not something I'm super concerned about. Like, they're excited about Cam Dewberry. They're excited about Gino Vandermark. And God's honest truth, like, Jaden was a liability last year. I mean, just whether you want to look how big, look how strong he benches, like, was banged up last year, so I hate it for him. Like, I want him to be back. But him being out does not alter my perception of what this team can become along the offensive line. I thought he played really sloppy football at times last year. And that's okay because he was banged up with one arm most of the season. So I'm going to let him off the hook. But it also was a bit of an indicator to where they were last year and not having the quality depth to be able to replace him. Now they do. So if he's at less than 100% or if he can't quite get right before week 1, it's okay. Like, take your time, get back. And when you are healthy, get back out there. But right now, they're in a good spot with the depth they've had and the depth they developed. So no reason to put him out there if he's less than 100%.
All right, so that's a little bit of injury news there from the Alabama line of scrimmage. But Ty Simpson, who was behind that Alabama offensive line, how Kalen DeBoer thought he looked in the scrimmage over the weekend.
I thought he came out and executed the offense. Just continues to be steady. Finds his times to make the plays. Today he actually used his feet again, and that's, I think, something that people will probably underestimate as we go through the year. Just with his ability to make plays and keep plays alive. But I thought he was steady. He was consistent. Probably a higher completion percentage than what he had last scrimmage. Maybe not quite as explosive. I think that's a tribute to our defense and what they did as well. So good both scrimmages for him, and just continue to make the progress. And I think building the team and getting the momentum going.
So you love to hear that he's continuing to build, GMAC. You love to hear, we've talked about it a lot this preseason, command of the offense, just getting guys lined up correctly, making the moves, the motions, the shifts correctly, getting people in the right spots. No procedure penalties, no delay of games, trying to run guys onto the field, not getting out of the huddle in time. It sounds like all that is ahead of schedule for Ty Simpson. You would expect it to be, but it still has to be something that we pay attention to because we haven't seen him as a regular starter.
Well, just nice to know that there's been no steps back, right? You get starting role, you get announced as starter, you continue to execute at a high level. And I think lost in a bit of the translation right there. It's nice to hear the defense is shored up and is not giving up the big plays that they might have given up the week before, because that was something that was problematic. Occasional bust in coverage, occasional lapse in coverage leading to a big play. So it's important, I think, to acknowledge that this is a group that has gotten better on the defense side, and they're not giving up the big ones. I think the big thing for Ty is just continuing to progress. Don't try to be a hero. Stay within the offense. Run the offense efficiently. Distribute the ball to your playmakers. All that stuff is great. Don't take any steps back because you now have this new lease on life because you're the starter. Continue to keep grinding like you did up to this point to earn you the starting job. And don't get too greedy. Don't get too aggressive. Don't try to do too much. Just keep progressing, and then those things will eventually come to fruition as the season gets going.
So that's Ty Simpson. That's the good news with what happened in front of him, what happened behind him. There was some bad news coming out of camp that took place there. That is behind the quarterback. We'll get to that on the other side of the break. But first, Kalen DeBoer on moving practice and why he wanted to have practice at a specific time of the day at this point in camp.
We actually had it originally scheduled earlier, moved it back just to get a little more heat, and got some good heat out there. That was probably one of the best things we got out of it today. It was one of the warmer days, and saw that all week brewing, and so took advantage of it. It's gonna be 2 weeks from today at this time we'll be playing, so talked to the guys about that a little bit, but it's good for us. We even conditioned at the end, did some extra work, and so just trying to get ready in every way possible.
Wait a minute. He said we even what at the end of practice? What did he say there? We even
stretched?
No. Just play that again. We even it's not exactly what he says, but it's the fact that we're saying this that maybe has me a little taken aback here. Kalen DeBoer on the end of practice. I got to hear this again. I'm sorry.
At this time we'll be playing, so talked to the guys about that a little bit, but it's good for us. We even conditioned at the end, did some extra work. And so
he says this, Greg, like we just decided to finally do this. Was there a practice you didn't condition after?
Well, they don't condition after scrimmages with this group as often.
Well, we did.
Of course we did.
Actually,
too.
Those were some of our worst days.
Yeah. We used to scrim. It's funny, when we went to the scrimmage last week, we actually talked with a couple guys about it. It's like, remember when we used to have to go down, put our hands down, and run 40-yard dashes after the scrimmage?
Well, because there was usually people at the scrimmage, and the coaches wanted to prove a point.
100%.
Like, oh, watch what these guys do after practice.
Look how hard we are. Of course. No doubt. That's exactly what it was.
So y'all's version of get a pump in?
Yeah, 100%. Like, the best part about the whole deal was Coach Saban would always freak out because he'd be like, I don't understand. The quarterbacks are running fine. Like, yeah, because we didn't have a full contact scrimmage. We didn't play a 70-play game and then have to run conditioning drills at the end of the game. Like, the quarterbacks had a practice, basically, and we didn't get hit, and we didn't have to do all the things the other guys had to do. So you always just get mad at everybody else on the team except for the quarterbacks. We endured our wrath during the scrimmage, I can promise you. But you just get mad at everybody else because they weren't running as hard as the quarterbacks were because we were the only ones that didn't get hit in the practice.
Yeah, it's the
quarterbacks look great. Why can't the rest of you run like the quarterbacks?
Well, Coach, one, they don't do anything in practice other than throw screens.
Mm-hmm.
The only run they do during practice is the one bootleg we had. But other than that, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Can't figure it out.
Yep.
All right, there was some other pretty important injury news from Tuscaloosa over the weekend. We'll get to that when we come back. Let you know how Alabama's running back depth chart may be looking now and how it might be affected. If you've listened to this show, you'll probably know that it's not one that we're going to feel very good about. Before we go on to break, though, Greg, tell our listeners about Polar Bear Services.
Well, Polar Bear Services has been doing so many things for me for a long time. I'm always grateful to the experiences that I have when working with Wes and the guys at Polar Bear Services. They do such a great job. They do so many things around your house. They've already helped me out so much with the HVAC system. It's been wonderful all summer long. It's been one of the hottest summers ever, it feels like, and yet we have had no issues whatsoever thanks to our friends at Polar Bear Services and the electrical and the plumbing. They're probably going to come out for our plumbing here recently. Probably coming out here pretty soon. Our water pressure has not been great, so get them out, fix that. That's now a great service they've added to their repertoire of services. So highly recommend you checking out Polar Bear Services. Remember, if you have a problem with your electrical, plumbing, heat, or air, just pick up the phone and call the Bears, 205-497-BEAR. It's 497-BEAR.
Pretty significant injury news out of Alabama. We'll discuss it next right here on Mac and Cube in the morning.
Know your surroundings.
All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 7:18, Monday, August 18th, right here on Jox. Joey Aguilar named the starting quarterback in Knoxville. We'll get to that. Hear from Josh Heupel a little bit later in the show. Michigan announcing they will appeal the NCAA, GMAC. 10-year show cause for Harbaugh, 8-year show cause for Connor Stallions. Some folks still saying not enough, and that what they received, anyone would pay for that in order to win a national championship. I don't think even if you know other people's signs, it's going to guarantee you the ability to go win a national title. However, some penalties significant, such as Harbaugh and Connor Stallions.
Well, it essentially ends any possibility of Connor Stallions ever becoming a college football coach. Based on his interviews, I'm not sure you'd want him as one to begin with. But what's amazing about this is that 10-year show cause basically becomes a 14-year show cause because it starts in 2028, which means as of right now, he's had a 4-year show cause before his 10-year show cause basically starts, because he's kind of been he's been in the grinder at least the last couple of years. Now, does Harbaugh care? No. This is much ado about nothing. He's not coming back to college football. Making $20 million a year with the Los Angeles Chargers, probably going to be there a bit. They got a pretty good team. They got a pretty good organization. And by the time he gets fired there, which based on his track record is a strong possibility, or before he wears out his welcome there, he will have already cashed like $100 million.
And someone else will want him.
Not sure he's too concerned about that. Somebody else might want him in the NFL, but not in college.
He's not going to worry about coaching anymore if he doesn't want to. He doesn't. I mean, what'd you say his quote was? You play, then you coach, then you die. Essentially,
yeah, you play as long as you can, you coach as long as you can, then you die.
So, hey, I could see him going to middle school or high school. And
yeah,
just saying, I don't care what y'all do, what y'all say.
Correct.
Watch this.
Correct.
I got enough money.
I ain't scared.
I'll figure it out. We'll be just fine here. So
correct.
So that's kind of the news from Michigan over the weekend. Also, over the weekend, Alabama took a hit at running back, and all reports on Jam Miller injuring his shoulder, and seems to be one, Greg, that's pretty significant. There are a lot of different issues that can go down, specifically at a running back with a shoulder. You can jam it. It can be something that's got some ligament issues. You can break your collarbone. There's a lot of things that can take place, but oftentimes we'll hear about guys being held out because they don't want to make the injury worse. This is a little bit further down the road than that, and one that actually could affect Alabama in the first couple of weeks of the season.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's I think most people are probably aware it's around the collarbone injury, but it's not as simple as just a broken collarbone. Without being allowed to go too deep in the weeds about the specifics, this is not just your standard 4 to 6 week clavicle injury. There's a little more to it. It's a very unfortunate injury. Ironically, it's an injury that I experienced, but very different the way Jam experienced it. Trying to think of like how I can phrase this without getting too deep in the weeds. This injury is something that I was able to play through as a quarterback. It was on my right shoulder, right clavicle, but it was not good for about a month. And frankly, this was an injury that could not get worse because the bone was 100% intact for me. I don't think that's the case for Jam, so it's a little bit different, but the actual other aspect of the injury beyond the hurt clavicle itself takes time and it's painful, and it is going to be a little bit of a process. So best case scenario, Georgia, sounds like hopefully he'll be at that point without pain, but I don't know at this point. So very unfortunate injury. He's had a great camp and he's a great kid, and it was really, really, really looking forward to seeing how he's going to play this year, but probably not going to see him for a little while, but here's hoping that he can get back, be pain-free for the stretch run of the season.
I mean, you can go back. You and I were so excited to watch him sort of be the feature guy and get the opportunity. And with an offensive coordinator coming back in, that's probably going to emphasize the downhill run game a little bit more. An offensive line that looks like it can be pretty good. We thought there was a real setup here for him to have a big season. You go Florida State, ULM, Wisconsin, then you get a week off. So as Greg said, at Georgia feels like a likely possibility. Go ahead and get to that bye week. Alabama should be fine against those first three opponents. Not that there are not aspects about Wisconsin or Florida State that could be dangerous. Nonetheless, that would be one that makes sense. And even if you miss that when you get back for Vanderbilt at home, and then you get in for the home stretch for some difficult games down the stretch. So how will it look without Jam Miller if he's not available for the first few weeks of the season? That's kind of the next question that a lot of folks are going to ask. Richard Young, Daniel Hill. We've talked a lot about Dre Washington and what we've seen from him on film at Louisiana Lafayette, Louisiana, the
Cajuns.
University of Louisiana,
Cajuns.
the University of Louisiana in Lafayette, Louisiana
Ooh la la.
University, ULL,
Ooh la la.
UL Lafayette, the Cajuns, the Raging Cajuns, where we've seen his film. I just want to cover all my bases there because I don't need the AD calling the show. He can play. He's a good player. He's somebody who I really like. And I think when you see his stature, he looks like this little bowling ball. You're like, oh, okay, he might be physical, but when he gets in the open field, he can go. He can get away from you. So it's not that there won't be numbers there, Greg. It's just Jam Miller felt like he could be different in this offense, and I think that's why we were most excited to see him.
Correct. One thing that's kind of disappointing about the Jam Miller aspect is he's really solid as a pass catcher out of the backfield. And with a young quarterback, that outlet to the back is really helpful. And knowing that you're getting to your best ball carrier is really helpful. So that's unfortunate. He also is a veteran, so it's decent in pass pro. I did talk, I think, a couple weeks ago about the depth they have at running back. Beyond that, you referenced Dre, but I like Daniel Hill. I like Richard Young. Like, I think they have enough to be able to get into a bit of a downhill style of attack. The unfortunate part of this, though, is that it now kind of put a little bit more of an onus on the passing game. Not to say they're not going to be a ground and pound outfit. I think that's, in a perfect world, what they want to be. But in the event in which your backs aren't super dynamic and can't go the distance and they're a churn and burn 3, 4, 5 yards in the cloud of dust type team, which is fine. They're going to be physical runners, but the big plays being created by way of the run game is not something that I anticipate a ton of with the current crop. With Jam, I think it's a possibility every time he touches the ball, he could go the distance. I don't know if that's the case for the next three. It also brings into the forefront the possibility of a freshman in AKD or maybe finding his way on the field, who's got some juice, who's got some ability, and can potentially manufacture some big plays. So if you want bruisers, perfect. Bama's got plenty. But if you want that guy that can take it the distance, I think they just lost him for a foreseeable future with Jam Miller. So be curious to see next man up mentality, see who might be able to come in and create some big plays on the ground.
Malik Deer's son?
I don't think that's Malik Deer's son.
Malik Deer's
son is
a pretty tight window.
And I believe Malik Deer, was he DEAR?
I believe so.
I think he might have been too.
Yeah. But he was an interesting little cat to watch play.
Not to be confused with like what Bambi is.
No.
DEAD?
Malik.
Bambi's not. That's Bambi's mom.
I'm sure. I mean,
Spoiler.
It's
came
been
out in
a
the
while
60s.
though, Greg.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be like
I mean, I feel
Disney characters live forever, technically.
Yeah, don't say that, John. I'm sure live action Bambi's coming.
Malik Deer, though, he was a fumble player. What was he, like 220? But
He was
he
a great
played the
player.
slot.
He might have been
run.
5'8", 220.
5'7".
Bowling ball.
Yeah. He was a fun player to watch in college.
Faux show.
All right, so that's some injury news coming out of Tuscaloosa. How does it affect the team moving forward? Where will Jam Miller be missed the most? A couple of things I'll add to this quickly. One, what Greg just said about outlets to the running backs. In this offense specifically, that is not always a check down. There are multiple plays and reads in this offense where the back is much earlier in the progression than there is in a lot of other offensives. This is in the weeds a little bit. I get it. I understand it. But just realize that throw, that route, that player at that position hits a little earlier in this offense than it does in a lot of others. So therefore, the importance, like Greg mentioned, that does begin to show up. Also, as Greg said, he's had a great camp. Those are reps that had been going to somebody else. And so now those will be game reps that have been missed. And that's just a couple of tiny tidbits that go along with that injury, because that's when we say it matters, those are the reasons that we're talking about and why it matters, GMAC, because those specifics of exactly how things operate with Alabama's offense and then how the reps have been doled out through the course of fall camp.
Well, that, and you referenced the wheel routes, the shoot routes, the swing routes, all the different things that the backs are expected to do. It's a pivotal piece of the offense. Very, very important. Now, if you look traditionally at the numbers, rushing has not been huge. But another thing that this kind of goes back to is, man, it stinks that Justice Haynes is gone, right? Not because Justice Haynes was a complete dynamic difference maker. I don't think he was. I think he was solid, but based on his recruiting rankings, people probably think he was a little better than he was. But had that additional experience depth would have been nice in this scenario. We saw this last year with Texas. We saw this last year with Texas A&M. We saw this last year with a handful of schools. We saw this last year with Ole Miss. We saw this last year with LSU. Running back depth can become a problem in an instant. Instant. So, and look, this is here's hoping that Jam can be back and have a 100% healthy season upon return. But backs, you can go from having 3, 4, 5 deep at the position to all of a sudden being down to 1 or 2 in no time. So just something worth monitoring and something to be aware of in the event in which a guy gets dinged at some point here in the near future. So how many times did we say this last year about running back depth for a bunch of different teams?
Multiple teams. It's big. You have to have more than one. The guys aren't just a workhorse 38 carry a game guy anymore. It's not really what it is. Plus you involve them in the passing game like you do now. It's another area in which you look at, they have to be a part of the game, and those reps become critical. So yeah, it's all big. It all matters. Kind of like your home. Gusty Goulis and the Gusty Goulis group know this. If you need to get into a new home, they want to help you do that today. And they're going to be the best at doing it in Birmingham. Why, you might ask? Well, they serve more than 3,000 home buyers and sellers in the greater Birmingham area. Gusty Goulis Group recognized both nationally and locally as greater Birmingham, Alabama's #1 team in homes sold. Google Gusty Goulis Group right now. You're going to see over 855-star Google reviews. Brokered by eXp Realty. Call 205-542-1996. That's 542-1996 to let Gusty Goulis just see what he can do for you today. Let him tell you how much your home's worth and what they think they can get, or what homes are going to be coming available that they could potentially get you in. 205-542-1996 or go to GustyGoulisGroup.com. All right, when we come back, we'll go to Auburn, check in on how things went over the weekend there. What positions looking good, what positions are struggling, and we got a starting quarterback news for you later this hour that we need to get to. All that and more next right here on Jox. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Head down to Auburn. Some discussion on exactly how things looked over the weekend there. Justin Hokanson will join us at 8 a.m. to give us an update on the Auburn Tigers. Sounds like things progressing in Auburn GMAC. Running backs having a good camp so far. Offensive line protection has looked pretty good. And I hear a lot of compliments on the defense. A lot of compliments on Auburn's edge defenders, on not just how they're rushing the passer, but how they're playing the run, how they're setting the edge. The front seven, I think, has exceeded expectations. And the fact that that doesn't mean that they've dominated, probably a good thing, because the O-line's been pretty good too. I think run game probably from an O-line perspective could be a little bit better. But when your quarterback's not live, you're not as worried about that. And you don't have a lot of tight end help, you could see where maybe it wouldn't just overall be dominant, because a lot of the run stuff in full pads in practice, I mean, defense knows there's not a lot of pass they have to be concerned about. I mean, those linebackers aren't looking at RPO windows. The defensive ends aren't worried about quarterback keeping the ball. Things can be just a little bit different. That can open up later. I'm not overly concerned about that. Protection, that's really good news. Not that it needs to be super elongated a lot of the time in this offense, but not having leakage in protection, I think a really good sign for this Auburn offensive line right now.
Correct. And I think what was the problem coming out of week one, right? Week one scrimmage is that, hey, you know what? Things don't look great up front along the offensive line. That's to be expected week one. It's not about where you start. It's not about scrimmage one. It's about where you go from that point. How we feel about the run backs? We feel good about them?
I think they're fine. I don't think they're dynamic. I don't think one is necessarily leaps and bounds above the other, but more than serviceable. Not going to be an issue heading into the season, I'll say that, because I think all are different and all have looked pretty good at times. So if you feel like you need a workhorse, maybe you're concerned. I don't really feel that way, because the workhorse wasn't worked last year. So it doesn't feel like they're going in that direction either way.
Fair enough. But in the event in which they are a better football team collectively, is that going to allow for them to maybe lean a little more on the run game to take some of the air out of the football? They got themselves into some jams last year.
That's
from time to
absolutely
time.
Accurate, yes.
So they got themselves into some jams last year. But when you really look at it, they were kind of in throw it mode a few times where they probably needed to be, and they were not really in ball control mode very often. I think a lot of last year's challenges were not so much an unwillingness to run the football, but more of a we stink up front at times along the offensive line. Like at times last year, they were pathetic along the offensive line. At times. Early, and once they made a couple adjustments post-Georgia game, things got a whole heck of a lot better. But how much of their unwillingness to run the football had to do with the fact that their offensive line, and one position in particular, left tackle, the fact that those guys were not trustworthy?
Totally fair.
So I think that's a big part of it too. So I'm hopeful that if the offensive line's better, they'll run the ball a little better. It certainly wasn't always. Everyone always says, "Oh, it's just they got to feed Jarquez." Great, yeah, Jarquez was great, but the O-line in front of him were really, really untrustworthy, and it's hard to hand it off when you don't trust your guys.
And that's I agree with that. I believe that, and also when you're not 100% certain that it's going to work. And there were only a few times last year that it looked like there was the utmost confidence in the Auburn run game from everybody involved. It looks like collectively is, I would say, how I would describe the running back position going into this season. I think tight end is still a little bit of a concern. And by all accounts, it sounds like quarterback is fine, is better, is where they want it to be. I'm not going to go a lot further past that, GMAC. I don't know if that sounds satisfactory to you, if that's where Auburn fans want it to be. I don't know if Auburn fans think it needs to be overly dynamic. I think a lot of what I hear about camp is that quarterback's fine, offense is good, defense has been doing a lot better than people realize. And not necessarily dominating things, but, and this may be something that puts my mind a little bit more at ease, defense has been doing a lot through scheme. So the whole letting Jackson Arnold just kind of live that life in an easy fashion might be going away. So I don't know what you feel like you want or need to hear about quarterback coming out of camp. It's probably not going to be super exciting, but I don't think that's bad news for a lot of Auburn fans.
I think having a low-key, solid quarterback play is perfectly fine. I know nobody wants that. See Notre Dame's quarterback competition, people losing their minds. Having a solid quarterback that doesn't make mistakes, that understands where he fits in the offense, that distributes, that does all the things that the coach wants him to do by making sure that they just continue to move the chains. Manufacture big plays is great. Everybody wants 2019 Joe Burrow. You're not going to have that. That's okay. You don't need to have that to be good. For the record, just methodical, efficient. Methodical and efficient. Methodical and efficient. And if you have that, you have a chance. So I think no news is good news on the quarterback spot, especially given the inconsistencies at the position the year before.
All right. We'll talk a little bit more about Auburn with Justin Hokanson at 8 a.m. There are a lot more that we need to get to there. Some injury news, some depth news. We'll discuss that with him. But when we come back, there has been a starting quarterback named in college football. There's been a few. We'll run through a couple of those, but one in particular you need to hear about, and it's what you need to hear about him that will probably surprise you and maybe excite you about watching him actually play football this year. We'll give you all that next right here on Jox. All right, welcome back in. 7:43. It is game week. Week 0 is here. College football will be on your TV screens live full tackle Saturday morning at 11 a.m.
You going to watch it?
I actually will probably not get to watch a ton earlier on Saturday. My son and I are doing a basketball camp this weekend.
Boop.
So kind of like a father-son deal.
Love it.
So I don't know if I'll be able to just camp out. I think it's over around noon or something on Sunday.
Yeah.
So I might not be able to just sit and grind on college football. I have to go back and check the tape. Put him to bed early in the hotel Saturday night. Be like, I got to watch some film, kid. Get to sleep.
Love it. Where are you going?
It's a Bruce Pearl father-son basketball camp.
Nice.
So I'm actually really excited about it.
Be good for your back.
Be great. I don't think there's a lot of running. I actually checked on that.
No, I've been told there's actually after the scrimmage you have to run sprints.
Yeah, and I was hoping
Suicides.
stadium steps is what I need.
No stadium steps.
I need
arena steps.
I need to actually bunny hop the stadium steps. That would feel much better for me.
Here's the good news is the gym at Auburn, I've been told, is quaint. So you don't have to run up that many steps.
Quaint.
That is a very intriguing description on your part. I don't even know what that means, but yeah. Sure.
Means it's not
You say
enormous. So. Like if you're running up Jordan Hare, probably not ideal.
Done it.
You can run up the jungle steps, and it'll be just fine. It'll be much more doable and air conditioned. Much more doable in the jungle than it is Jordan Hare. So if you're going to run stadium steps, I highly recommend doing them in the jungle.
When I had a broken foot going into my junior year.
Yeah. I love where this is starting. When I had a broken foot going into my junior year. All right, great start.
We would practice in the stadium, and my conditioning, quote fingers, because I couldn't practice, was a weighted vest under my pads, shoulder pads, keep in mind, shoulder pads and helmet on.
Yeah.
50-pound dumbbell walks up and down the lower level stairs of Jordan Hare Stadium.
Bye.
I'm sitting there like, okay, one, why are helmets and shoulder pads even necessary here at this point?
You gonna play without them?
Like the weighted vest feels like it would take the place of the shoulder pads.
Weighted vests become a real thing.
Oh, we don't even need to get into that.
Become a real thing because you are working much harder.
When you say real thing, you mean every soccer mom on America has a
don't limit it to moms. Do not limit it to moms.
Which is embarrassing.
That is sexist.
Because
I have seen plenty of dads rocking that vest.
And I've asked 3 different ones in our neighborhood.
You added 8 pounds to your chest.
I've asked 3 different in our neighborhoods, and they'll be like, I was like, really? Does that thing help? Yeah. How much? I don't know. It's my wife's.
I got news for you. I don't know how the operation works in your family. But after my workouts, my wife doesn't want to look at the things that were on my body, let alone re-wear the things that were on my body.
So then I get
How often would you be okay rocking how would Kat feel? You rock her weighted vest. Probably a slight to moderate glaze, I would think. Maybe a slight sweat.
Yeah, probably, especially if it was outside walking around.
It's going to be like when you do 2-a-days and you put your shoulder pads on for the second practice. What's worse than that? Imagine your wife putting on her weighted vest that you borrowed from your workout that morning or that afternoon.
They don't deal with that anymore. It's not that way.
They have 2 sets of shoulder pads?
No, you go to like a Auburn or LSU, they have like the hose off system before they get to the locker room.
Like they spray them with a hose?
There's like a spray room. Seriously, there's like a spray room that you take your shoes off and like your gloves off, and you walk in and it washes everything off. And there's they hang it, and there's like a dry room also that they hang it.
Also known as a sauna.
I'm just saying, you go in and it sprays everything down, and you go to the next room and you hang your stuff, and then you go in the locker room.
Have you installed one of those at your house for when you wear Kat's weighted vest walking around?
Actually, I need that next to our Peloton, which I won't be on the Peloton for about 2 more months, but not comfortable.
Good visual.
It was worse than I thought.
No, you don't say. Somebody cuts your stuff. I'm sure it feels great. Oh, it doesn't hurt.
I didn't realize they were going in 2 spots, by the way.
Well,
but as my wife said, well, there are 2 of those, so I guess.
How big a boy are you?
Both need to be managed. It was a very laid back weekend for me, by the way.
I'll say.
And I did not expect it to still be impacting me today, in which it is.
100%. I've been told it's a 2-week process.
Yeah, it's a process. Yeah, the basketball camp this weekend will be very laid back.
Here's the good news: you probably won't get any
perimeter
hernias.
game is going to be on.
No rebounds.
Nope.
No. Okay.
Not blocking anybody out. No. Keep everybody else away from me.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Are the kids in school yet? Almost. Bell rings in 42 seconds, so we should be in good shape.
No, they've all been dropped off now. Yeah, we're good. You can wait until 8:15 if you want after Hope and talk about it.
Well, you never have to wait for your dental care. That's because Family Care Dental has you taken care of. The urgent care office where you can be seen the same day. Sounds like Cole needs some urgent care, but not necessarily for dentistry.
Yeah.
But I will say this. Several locations to make it easy on you: Hoover, Fultondale, Homewood, Alabaster, and Trustful. Those that need emergency care can get in. They can also see you on Fridays, Saturdays, which is great during the school year because it's just hard to get dental appointments. If you need to do it on Saturday, you can do it. Don't get married on Saturday, starting this Saturday, but you can get Family Care Dental to get you in before the games get started, which is great.
Speaking of things that were unnecessary, that read, number one.
Not done yet. I haven't given the number yet.
Appreciate you
taking
the freebie out for him. So you wanted me to stop that conversation so bad that you just went and found a read.
I don't know where you're going to go with this, and my kids aren't in school yet. So Family Care Dental, 874-9605. Most insurance plans are accepted, accepting patients of all ages. Routine care now comes with free teeth whitening. 874-9605. One more time.
You don't have to do this today.
That's Family Care Dental.
It's not on the list.
874. Yeah, it is.
It isn't.
You're right. It doesn't matter.
So
I'm going to get a freebie in anyways.
So that's a place if you were to lose teeth that you could go to, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Speaking of losing things, back to Cole.
Yeah, no, we're not doing it now.
Oh,
he doesn't want to do it now. We'll
losing
do it later.
manhood.
We'll do it later.
What? It happens to bulls and stuff, and it happens all the time.
What, they're on parade?
Does it happen to bears?
Maybe.
Because
How big a bear are you?
Bachmeier has been named the starting quarterback at BYU. He is a Stanford transfer. There are reasons that this is intriguing. There are reasons that this is interesting. I want to let you hear a clip from Cam Newton, who on his podcast, Fourth and One with Cam Newton, was shown a clip of Bear Bachmeier in high school, and this was his reaction.
And was his number 47? No. Defenders, you must identify the context clues. If a quarterback got a number other than the 19 other numbers that he can wear, you know that ain't trying to damn throw the ball. This dude got 47. John Lynch out there, man. What are you talking about? You think he about to sit up here and throw it like Josh Allen? Hell no, he got bad intentions. 47 at quarterback, my boy. It got to be a backstory. And that's a story I ain't trying to figure out right now. My boy, you just got to, as a defender, you just got to know your surroundings.
6'2", 225. Bear Bachmeier will wear number 47 as the starting quarterback at BYU.
That's disgusting. That is disgusting.
All right, the next Tebow. Okay.
Oh, God.
How happy is Cole?
I actually love it.
No, I know. Absolutely. You knew he would.
I mean, we've talked about this being one of the this is absolutely one of the top 5 worst numbers on the football team. I mean,
it's up there.
Cam mentioned to John Lynch. Outside of that, you can't come up with another one. You just can't.
What was Atwater? I think Atwater was 47. 27. Dang it.
Yeah. He's
also
in the 20s.
Deese.
Ronnie Lott, 42, so that wouldn't count there.
Do that.
Every fullback ever lived, 44 or 40.
Yeah.
So a couple safeties, 41, and a running back, 41. 47 is not really out there. There's just not many. But
Fred Warner.
What was the Michigan quarterback number that he wore to honor? Was it 98?
Oh, Devin Gardner.
Oh, Devin Gardner. Yeah.
To honor like one of the old players? Okay, like that. There's a lot of 98s we can point to. Not a quarterback. But, yeah, 47 is disgusting. But I appreciate the just complete middle finger to all quarterbacks all the time. And just, we're going 47. Yeah. The NIL possibility is still endless. No. Steve DeBerg wore 19. Joe Montana had a time where he wore 19.
You don't like 19?
No, 19's terrible.
A lot of receivers have worn 19.
Yeah, that's fine. Receivers kind of swaggy.
19 is not near as bad as 47.
39's the worst. We all agree. Anything in the 50s, 60s, or 70s for a quarterback would be off limits.
49's not great.
It's
better. It's better than 47, but it's not by much. 39's still the worst.
40 numbers that are acceptable in my opinion. 40, 41, 44. After that, I get like Alex Lincoln wore 43. God bless him. I think they just gave it to him and he's like, I'm not changing. It's not a good look.
45's not bad.
That's why
You said 40, 41, 44.
No, go look. I saw like a little like photo reel over the weekend online somewhere, and it was like an homage to giant shoulder pads, and Andy Katzenmoyer was one of them. Go look at Andy Katzenmoyer in an Ohio State uniform and tell me that still wouldn't go over well today. The giant numbers. It is interesting how Ohio State has scaled the numbers down as much as they have. I like them back when they were gigantic.
Yeah, back in the day, they looked like Madden 64.
It was cartoonish, and I loved it. Katzenmoyer was like one of the first players to wear the silver visor, like the mirror visor with 45 and the giant numbers and the shoulder pads that like his helmet actually didn't go left or right because the shoulder pads were so big. Yeah, it's an awesome look. It still is, especially for an inside linebacker. So there are positions that can make it work. Quarterback, you just don't feel like a 40 number works. It's just not one you're used to seeing.
No.
So, but it'll be fun to watch it this year. Bear Bachmeier. You in or out, Greg?
In.
We thought BYU had quarterback problems. Little do we know now they're solved. He's got a guy wearing a 40s number, which means he's either going to throw for 2,800 and run for 1,800 and have like 50 total touchdowns with 4 total turnovers, or he's going to be a complete disaster, one or the other.
What I would say is that BYU around the quarterback should be really, really solid. They should be really good. So if their quarterback can just kind of manage the game, I think they have a chance to be pretty solid. The problem is you're going with the true freshman. And a true freshman, with all the great things that could come with the true freshman down the road, managing the game, situational awareness, those are usually a bit of a learning curve. So they're going to have to really do a good job of kind of coaching around that. And if they can, they'll be all right. If they can't, in a league that's very, very tight, they could lose a couple games because situationally they're not great. So I'm a little concerned about it, but it seems like they could be playing for the future a little bit down the road because Bachmeier is a highly regarded prospect. So
if you remember, his brother Hank played college football also.
Might still be playing.
His brother Tiger is also on the team at Stanford. So he has another brother named Buck. So you have Bear, Tiger, Buck, and their sister's name is Ella. What happened there? There were no animals.
Mom put her
name
foot down.
After?
Could have named her what?
You had 3. No, this was
Mom
mine.
finally said this one's mine. There are no animals. She's
trying to think like a girl. It would be like Unicorn Bachmeier.
Doe.
Pony
Bachmeier.
Pony be good.
Goldfish. Call her Goldie for short. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Hour number 2 underway. We will move past my procedure on Friday since nobody wants to discuss that. Get to Justin Hokanson of the Auburn beat here in just a moment. Some news coming out over the weekend of just how some individuals looked. Before we get to Hoke, don't forget, you can listen online, joxfm.com. The app is in your app store, iPhone, Android. Just download that. Download it for free. That'll direct you to YouTube where you can watch us live every day. Search Jox945. Also has the podcast house there, and you can just tune in and listen on the app. Or when you wake up, get moving around, tell your home smart speaker to enable the Jox skill.
Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC Dealer of the Year, the national champion of GMC dealers. Always do an amazing job. I'm a repeat customer, just like 75% of their business. That's because you have a better experience when you shop with Bill Smith. Highly recommend you take the short drive up to Coleman. You go see what they have on the lot. It's off the charts good. Andy Cole and Jonathan Yeager go above and beyond to make sure that their customers are satisfied. That's why GMC has given them Dealer of the Year the last 5 years. They've won the national championship of GMC dealers 8 times overall. It's a dynasty, and it's lucky for us they're so dang close. Short drive, I-65, exit 310, Highway 31. You can go get a GMC Sierra SLT, $14,000 off the sticker price. Gets you out for around $53,000, which is ridiculous. You're not getting that deal anywhere else. You can also go and get an Encore GX. It's a Buick. Sporty economical SUV for $5,000 off. You can get it under $25,000. Deals like that keep people coming back. That's why you should buy your next vehicle from the GMC Dealer of the Year at Bill Smith Buick GMC. You can also have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
All right, let's go to the Higginbotham hotline now. Welcome in Justin Hokanson from the On3 Sports Network, covers the Auburn beat. Before we go into practice over the weekend and fall camp, just recruiting feels like it's kind of ramping up a little bit for this Auburn program and Hugh Freeze. People have been really down on it for a while. Justin, just kind of give us an update where that is.
Yeah, it's ramping up a little bit. I mean, you get Jace Matthews, who's one of the best receivers in the country recently, and then you got Braylon Womack, who is the number 1 safety in the country, announcing Thursday, and it looks like Auburn's in great position to land him. So you kind of had a few months there where it was rough, where not only were you not getting commits, but you lost a few, and then now things have sort of settled in, and you're able to secure 2 of the better players in the country. They're making inroads with a couple of other players on both sides of the ball that are committed elsewhere. So, yeah, I think it's transitioning a little bit. I think, looking back, that period where they struggled was just kind of that period with a lot of unknown, and, not to rehash all that, but they sort of were taking a back seat a little bit, and it showed. And then now things, they could try to ramp it back up a little bit. Still got a ways to go. I mean, if they were to land Braylon Womack, probably might bump them inside the top 30 at that point. But the thing to keep in mind about this class, and I put it out on Twitter, like they might be 30th or so, let's say, if they do land Braylon Womack Thursday. But of the top 40 teams, they'd have one of, if not the fewest commits of any of them, and their blue chip ratio is going to be like top 15 if they land Womack. So, partly if they're around 30, part of that's just going to be the sheer number of commits. So if they can keep the quality, if they can keep kind of the ratio as they grow the class, they will no doubt jump back into the top 15 or higher when this thing's all said and done. So they've just got to kind of build the class back to the way they're going. But yeah, it's ramping back up a little bit. Now it's to that point where wins are going to matter. You got to do it on the field and back it up.
What do you think is the biggest point of contention for Auburn going into the season? We've documented every aspect of their team. I think we feel fairly confident that they're going to be improved in just about every area. But what's the one area where you think they might not be as good as they were a year ago?
Ooh, might not be as good. That's a tough one. I mean, linebacker's a little iffy. I mean, just because you got a lot of unproven guys there, there's some ability, man. We've heard a lot of good things about the athletic ability of Xavier Atkins, who they brought in, and some freshmen like Bryce Dees and Elijah Melendez. But there's still a lot of unprovenness with that position. And so, Dorian Mosey was the leading tackler last year, for Auburn when he transferred from Duke. Like, he wasn't some phenomenal player, but he's pretty good. I mean, he's a pretty good player. He's competing for a roster spot, I think, with the Vikings. But, he had played a lot of college football. So linebacker is probably the one where I would look at and go, it's not necessarily going to be worse, but they just got to prove it. I got to see those guys sort of do it, but there's a lot of potential. Outside of that, I don't know. I mean, I think they're going to be better at corner. I think they're going to be, as good at the safety position. They should be better at the line, better at receiver. Running back probably takes a step back. You can't put, Jarquez Hunter is a really good back, so you don't have a stud. But if you can do it collectively, then that might not take a step back. But for now, you could say you don't have a stud, so maybe a step back there. So maybe linebacker and running back are the only two positions that I could point to and go, they might be worse, only because there's some unproven guys there, but they're not necessarily going to be worse.
How do you look at the running back usage going into this season? Because we often have discussed that Jarquez was not used the way that we thought he should have been, could have been last year. And even if running back talent, ability is not a strength, I mean, is there any more idea that it's going to be utilized to a different extent than it was a season ago?
Yeah, I'm really, really interested to see how that plays out, because nothing we've seen or heard during fall camp has pointed to any one of those guys breaking out and being the guy that gets, 75% of the carries. But it could happen. I mean, Damari Alston's been there a while. He could certainly just become this super reliable guy that gets the majority of the carries. But Jeremiah Cobb, Hugh Freeze has said he's going to have a breakout year. So, okay, what does that look like? And then you bring in Darrell Robinson from UConn for a reason. He's a big physical back that I really like. I'm really curious to see what he looks like in the SEC because he looks the part. So I don't know. It's hard for me to see one guy of that group breaking out and being the stud. I really think it could happen. I mean, you could get into the season and it could just sort of work its way out where you just really start trusting the guy and he's in a rhythm and he becomes the man. But I really think it's going to be a collective effort, whether it's Darrell Robinson's a bigger guy. He could be a great short down back or a great goal line back, or Jeremiah Cobb, obviously with his speed, could be used in different ways. So it feels like it's going to be a collective effort depending on the play or the down or the situation, or if somebody gets hot, just keep him in the game at that point. So I think we were talking about this on the show the other day, and it kind of reminds me of the 2001 season. Now Carnell was a freshman that year, and you don't have this All-American freshman, but that year you had Ksenius Moore had like 600-ish yards. Carnell had like 500-something yards. Ronnie had like 400. That's what it sort of feels like it could be with this group, where collectively can they get to 1,500 yards with some kind of split like that. I'm not sure one guy on this roster is going to get to 900 yards. I don't know. It could happen, but I see it more like that 2001 season where you have 657, maybe somebody's at 500, maybe somebody's at 350, something like that.
What have you heard so far about?
Really quickly though, the Ksenius Moore reference was not the one that I thought we were going to get on the show today. Like that,
Don't even know who that is, but I
don't know if anybody else is getting that all year.
Yeah, I respect the name drop for sure.
He's good.
I'm sure he was. I honestly don't remember him, but
been a minute.
I love it. What have you heard on Jackson Arnold's comfort level, where he's at, and the progress that he's made in fall camp?
I'll tell you one thing that I've heard now through a couple of scrimmages, even through Friday, that I think is, certainly noteworthy. If you think back to how last year went, is I continue to hear that there have been very few turnovers when it comes to Jackson Arnold, and obviously that's when you look back at last year and turnovers literally cost them, how many wins. So that's one of the things I think is getting lost a little bit. Even though the defense has won more times than not during these scrimmages and practices, I still continue to hear that he's protecting the football. There's not interceptions being thrown. There's not fumbles and things like that. And so even through some of the, even though the offense has had their moments, but the defense has won some of these scrimmages, I like to hear that they're protecting the football. I talked to somebody on Saturday that said, very few times that offense is putting the ball in harm's way. So, I mean, that's a really good sign, obviously. If that can continue, if he's making, and you go back to Freeze and Durkin and then talking about good decision-making, let's hope that translates, because that would be a really good sign and a good starting point. I think the other element with him is I think he's learning the offense fine. The RPO game, I think, is going to be really good. They've still got to pass protect a little bit better. That didn't go well on Friday. That was the one caveat there, is the O-line did not pass protect very well. But the other part of Jackson Arnold's game that's being overlooked right now is his ability to run, because it's just non-existent in fall camp. You're not going to let him get hit, and you're going to blow the whistle early. And so when they scrimmage and go through this stuff, his ability to run is just not a factor, and that's that's going to be a part of this offense. And so I'm really intrigued once the season starts to see that part of the game and that part of the offense. Designed runs with him in addition to scrambles and runs. I think that's a part of his game that we're maybe not talking about enough in terms of how this offense is going to move the football. His ability to run, I think, is going to add a big-time element and really help these guys move the football. So I think he's doing well, but I like no turnovers, and I'm still keeping an eye on his ability to run, and we don't hear a lot about that. But I think that'll show up on Saturdays.
Yeah, it's one, too. I think we've mentioned it here. He can be a dynamic runner. I mean, big runs, 50, 60-yard runs that can break a defense down, that forces defense to play you a different way. My understanding, Justin, is that he has been letting go of the football, and this has been my biggest concern the entire offseason. That confidence has got to get back. And then the second part to that is that he has been seeing more from the defense recently. And we all had some fun with that after media days. I know you followed up with Coach Freeze about that a couple times. But are you in line with hearing those two things, that his confidence of letting go of the ball is coming around, and what he's actually having to face defensively has gotten a lot more complicated the last week and a half?
Yeah, no question. I mean, we've definitely heard. I mean, I think we talked to, I think Freeze, Durkin, and Ken Austin have all said, he's getting rid of the football, and he's making pretty quick decisions. Of course, we saw that moment last week when Freeze lost his mind when he didn't get rid of the ball. But I think that's indicative of maybe how he has been playing. It was kind of inexplicable in that one moment that he didn't. But I've heard that as well, and I'm glad you brought up the point about facing the defense. We had a lot of fun with that a few weeks ago. Freeze talked about in the spring dialing the defense back, and everybody lost their mind and everybody kind of made fun of it. I think that really went towards, he was just really focused on trying to build Jackson Arnold's confidence back up. But everything I've heard over the last week or so, 2 weeks, is the defense is throwing a lot at him. I mean, I talked to somebody on Saturday morning after Friday's scrimmage, and that was one of the main points they made was at this point, there's not a lot being held back. That defense is calling a lot of stuff, and it makes it hard on the defense in fall camp. I mean, DJ Durkin is a really good play caller. He's an unorthodox play caller, and the offense isn't preparing for him. They're trying to just run their stuff, no matter what. And so it can be hard sometimes for the offense to move the football, and I think that's a really good point. I've heard nothing but the defense is throwing a lot out there and getting after him. So I think whatever comment you heard about Freeze and taking it easy, quote unquote, taking it easy on Jackson Arnold, that might have been the case in the spring, maybe to start fall camp. But for the most part, the last few weeks, I don't think that's been the case. I think the defense, especially when they've gone through these scrimmages, I think the defense has thrown a lot out there, and it's caused the offense to have some issues. But I think he'll be better for it.
Finally, when you look at what they have back defensively, obviously you look at a bunch of guys that are, quote, starting for the first time, but it hasn't been a huge concern for me. They are going against a great defense or a great offense in Baylor week 1. What position group will you be paying the closest attention to when they take on the Bears in Waco a couple weeks from now?
I look at the trenches. I mean, we can talk about the receiver room being better. That's great. We can talk about Auburn's cornerback room. I think that's pretty good. But the trenches, if you're going to make inroads in the SEC and you're going to become a better program, it's going to happen in the trenches. I think Baylor's offensive line is pretty good. And so I look at the interior defensive line of Auburn. I really like what I've heard from the edges: Amaris Williams, Kieron Crawford, Keldrick Falk. That interior defensive line, though, they've got a lot of bodies to rotate, but they don't have a stud. So I really want to see what that group looks like against a pretty good Baylor offensive line. And then the flip side, Auburn's offensive line. I mean, that group, if Auburn's going to reach potential, if Auburn's going to make strides, that group's got to hit their mark. I mean, if we think that group is a top third group in the league, they gotta show it. And I think they've done a pretty good job in camp running the football. There've been some times in pass pro where Auburn's edges have gotten them. But that's where I'm looking. The interior defensive line, can those guys hold up and do a good job? And then is that offensive line everything they're cracked up to be, which we talk about being such a difference maker with that group. So that's where I'm looking. I mean, I think we all focus on the flashy stuff. That's great, but those two groups right there have to take big steps if Auburn's going to take big steps.
Justin Hokanson covers the Auburn Tiger for the On3 Sports Network. He's with us in the Higginbotham hotline. Let you go after this one. You kind of followed up with Hugh Freeze on the whole play calling situation last week. We laid it out like this. Our belief is that it's mainly a contractual thing with Derek Nix and what he had in his contract leaving Ole Miss, that he had to be the primary play caller or he could be fined or sued or whatever the hell it is. And we were accused of being negative here on the show, like folks asking me if I like Hugh Freeze because I'm negative about it. My problem is not with that, Justin, because I don't think that that's real, and I don't think any group of humans on an offensive football staff would allow that to take place. My problem is that you've allowed it to become public perception that way. Just clarify it for us, kind of where you think it is in reality and why you think it's gotten to where it is.
Yeah, I like your negative point. It's so true. I feel you on that. I think you're right. I mean, I think people forget when they hired Derek Nix, they had to make him offensive coordinator and he had to be play caller. He had to have a promotion to leave Ole Miss contractually. So I do think that's part of it. Every time you've heard Freeze talk about it, yes, he says I have authority to overrule, or we all play a part, but he's very intent on making sure that Nix is like portrayed as the guy. And I think that's caused some confusion because then you're like, but you're the play caller. I mean, let's not like mess it up. Hugh Freeze is the play caller. He called the majority of the plays last year. He's the main guy. So I think the way they've described it has just not always been super clear, and kind of who's first down, who's third down, but we all kind of do it and all that stuff. So I think the way they described it has not been super clear. My stance on this, I really am not concerned about what happens on Saturdays. Like the way they communicate and call plays on Saturdays is not an issue. That's not the issue at all for me. What the issue for me is, and we'll see how the offense operates, is Freeze is the primary play caller on Saturday, but during the week, he's not in every offensive meeting. He is being the head coach. He's doing a lot of stuff. And the issue for me is, because I know what happened last year, is when you're not in every offensive meeting and you're going to be the primary play caller on Saturday, you better hope that everything that's said and done during the week that you don't see or you're not a part of is being translated to you so that you don't miss anything. And I just wonder about stuff happening during the week that he's not involved in, offensive meetings, quarterback meetings that he wasn't a part of last year. Then he's the play call on Saturday, and I think that opens the door for stuff to fall through the cracks. I'm not saying that whole system can't work and be an efficient operation, but the communication's got to be phenomenal if you're going to be the primary play caller on Saturday, but not be a part of every single thing with the offense during the week. Like, that's my biggest issue. It's not even about who calls plays on Saturday because it's pretty much Freeze. So that's kind of how I look at it. I think the play calling itself, that whole thing was a little bit overblown. The way they've communicated it is not great. My biggest issue is just sort of how the communication happens from Monday to Saturday and making sure Saturday they're all on the same page and nothing's falling through the cracks so that the operation you watch is an efficient one.
Justin Hokanson, always appreciate the time. Great stuff, man. Thanks for filling us in, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Justin Hokanson covers the Auburn beat for the On3 Sports Network, joining us on the Higginbotham hotline. Does that change your opinion on anything from an Auburn perspective?
Not really.
It's about in line with what we said last week, even though we were accused of being negative. We don't believe that somebody calls plays on first down, a different person second down, a different person third down.
No.
But you've allowed it to become that in the public, and that was where we had some issue and some concerns.
Correct.
And as you pointed out, that I had not thought of, potentially what that maybe is setting up down the road, to be able to state it after a game of, oh, well, if our second down play calling was better, maybe we win that game. Those are kind of things you don't want to see take place either.
Correct. That's, I think, the biggest problem is now with it being public, it opens you up to potentially greater scrutiny, which is not desirable because you can point to specific instances with how you've laid it out. Hey, first down's a problem. They're averaging 3.2 yards on first down. Well, that's got to be Derek Nix. Oh, well, they're averaging 31% on their third down efficiencies. Oh, well, we know who deserves the blame for that. Coach Austin. Like, I mean, it just, to me, I don't like having that information out there. I don't think it's good for anything. And I think it can become a little bit of a challenge, even though it just something that didn't need to happen is the big thing.
No, I'd be with you. All right. Something that may need to happen in your home is your floors are torn up. Your floors are gross. You can't have that smooth walk across your kitchen or your dining room floor. Greg, tell our listeners how they can get that repaired.
Well, Shannara Flooring can get you taken care of. They're the very best when it comes to coming in and installing and improving the quality of your floors and improving the value of your home or business or your office, whatever it may be. This CoreTech flooring by Shaw is dependable, durable, really incredible. And it's going to make sure that not only is the home beautiful, the floor is beautiful, but they're going to be really reliable as well. That's why Shannara Flooring is giving that CoreTech flooring by Shaw that they have currently in stock, 40,000 square feet of it. They're giving it to you at $10 off per box. That means you can really stack some savings if that's the direction that you would like to go. So recommend going to footandyou.com, checking out their inventory, looking at that CoreTech. You can save a bunch of money. You can get 12 months financing, and you're going to make money down the road because of the upgrade that you make on your floors today. So go to footandyou.com. It's Shannara Flooring. Go to footandyou.com.
All right, we'll come back and discuss a little bit more of what Justin Hokanson had to say and how that may have changed our opinions on this Auburn football team this fall. That's next right here on Jox. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. It is 8:25, Monday, August 18th, right here on Jox. And going back to a little bit of what Justin Hokanson had to say, just kind of where this Auburn team is wrapping up fall camp. It sounds like Jackson Arnold kind of coming around. Sounds like Jackson Arnold confidence of letting go of the football GMAC has improved. It's getting better. Is close to where the coaches would want it to be, regardless of one clip of practice over the course of 2 weeks that has been pulled and folks have seen. And if that's the case, that opportunity for a big season's there. It absolutely is. He has the ability to unlock this offense with the receivers they have, the offensive line they have, but it's got to be him getting it out on time and understanding how to let it go. And if he's doing that now against different looks, that's more reason for Auburn fans to have that real confidence.
Yeah, and I've actually been kind of going back and looking at some numbers from Oklahoma last year, and just kind of looking at where Jackson Arnold was. It wasn't good throwing the football. Just I don't know how else to explain it. It wasn't good. When you combine him with Hawkins last year, who replaced him as the starting quarterback, they averaged less than 5 yards per dropback. That was 129th in college football. But it was not, if you really watch it, it's not for a lack of talent. He has talent. It's not about that. It's about execution. It's about willingness. It's about accuracy. It's about decision making. And if he can do those things, and with this offense, and if he can simplify some of his processes post-snap, that could be big. But he's still got to go out there and do it. So the track record is not promising, but I think that was rock bottom last year. I think there's a lot more in the tank. I remain cautiously optimistic. But I do think that week one opponent is huge, not just because of what it could mean for Auburn's season, but more to just get your quarterback started. I think he can be a momentum player. If he gets confidence early in the season, I could see that carrying over and building week over week. So I think it's imperative for them to get off to a hot start offensively.
How would you try to do that with him week one, especially against a defense that you know they're going to see a lot of different things. He's going to have the opportunity to miss some looks, miss some reads because of how Aranda's going to present things. You just emphasis on the run game.
I think you run him.
That includes him?
Yeah, I think you run him. I don't know how you see it. I think that's absolutely 100% the way you have to do it.
I would. I mean, I've been a fan of running the football at any point in time, anywhere.
For sure.
But specifically in that one and letting him get loose a little bit, maybe let him take a hit or two just to have that understanding of, hey, this is how it's going to be. This is what it's going to do to the defense, and you're good. Everything's okay. I would not place the emphasis on a lot of the drop back stuff early. I'd want him to get comfortable with some of the quick game. But as you know, when you miss things in the quick game, it can turn into a nightmare in a hurry. And that's what, like you're saying, I think you have to avoid that early on for this offense.
I don't think there's a choice. I think you absolutely 100% have to. And if you don't, it's a problem. If you do, you're in good shape. But I also think a big part of Jackson Arnold's growth and development is actually becoming a very capable passer from the pocket. If he can do that, and he's got a good supporting cast, I think his weapons this year have a chance to be quite good, much better than anything he took the field with last year because of the injuries that wide receiver group accumulated as the season went along. I think it's really hard to play quarterback by yourself, and I don't think anybody can do it well. I don't care what the circumstances are. I think Joe Burrow is one of the best players in the world. You take T. Higgins and Jamar Chase off that offense, it's going to be a whole heck of – I don't care how good he is. I think he's top 5 quarterback in the entire world. You take those two guys off, it becomes much more challenging. I do think Jackson Arnold's supporting cast is significantly better than what he dealt with last year at wide receiver with what was available down the stretch, but he's still got to go do it. And I'm still remain in see it to believe it mode, can be cautiously optimistic, but still see it to believe it mode.
How would you want to open this game if you were Hugh Freeze calling plays against Baylor? Is it just straight handoffs? Is it the option for him to run? Is it limit the RPOs? Is it get a deep shot in? Or like, what are some of the things that you would feel like, we got to do this early on to kind of see where we are, or at least set the tone against this defense to kind of force their hand a little bit? Would it be lean on the quick game? Would it be like feed Singleton behind the line of scrimmage, at the line of scrimmage, to try to let him get going? What are some of the things that you feel like have to happen to get this offense going to the point where they can have that success against Baylor for 4 quarters?
Well, I think a big part of it is running the football. There's no way on earth Dave Aranda allows that to happen, though. Just knowing Dave Aranda, there's no way he's going to let them run it down their throat. They went out and they got 2 guys that are 340 plus. One guy's 375 from Texas A&M, SEC personnel. And I think they put those guys in the lineup so you're not running it. We might not be able to impact the quarterback, these 2 guys up the middle, but guess what? You're not running the football. And I think you'll have overhangs on both sides and say, you're going to have to beat us with your arm. And your wideouts are going to have to beat us in one-on-one contested catch situations. There's no way he doesn't take that approach, correct?
That's where I believe he would go. Yeah. And then that's where you start some of the zone drop stuff into some of the passing windows where you would think, all right, if he's going to try to beat us with a quick game, this is where we'll fool and make him think linebackers coming off the edge or safeties coming up on the edge, and he's going to be dropped back, or even D linemen are going to be dropped into coverage, into space. And that's where I think a guy like Singleton, like some perimeter throws, some quick throws outside that don't have the opportunity for somebody to really step in front of them, a jet sweep here and there, you kind of get him moving east-west, and that's where it calms things down. But I expect them, if they get what you're talking about, you got to take some shots down the field. You have to. Because you've got the personnel out there to be able to win it. You've got the personnel to go outside and be able to help you have that success. And if you don't take it, then that's a problem. I think we'll see probably more shot plays than you and I are imagining right now. Only because that's what's going to be presented to them, in my opinion.
I think shot plays will be big. Low percentage completions. So you got to throw it down the field.
Yeah.
So and you got to be accurate, and you got to get behind the defense. Like, I think shot plays are imperative. Like, I would go press. I would force him to throw it over the top. And if Jackson Arnold throws that out of bounds, great. Like, he misses the deep ball, perfect. Like, you can have as many long foul balls as you want. He starts hitting a couple, then I'll start to adjust.
Right.
But I would start by taking away everything underneath. I would squat on everything. I would force the guys to run over the top. I'd get super physical because no official's going to want to go out there and throw a million flags week 1. I would be right on the verge of pass interference on every snap, and I would just challenge those receivers. Because I don't know if Cam Coleman likes it to be, dirty ball. Like, I don't know that. I think when things were good for him last year, it was pretty easy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I would get up in his face and I would harass him if I were Baylor's defenders. So that's what I do. I don't know if it'll work, but that would be the number one goal for me.
So that'll be Auburn Baylor. We'll see how that one plays out, how far maybe Jackson Arnold has come, where that confidence is early on, what Hugh Freeze wants to do to try to unleash him and those weapons that he's going to have on the perimeter. It's going to be a fun watch either way. Like we've talked about, this is a game that I just think in general is going to be a lot of fun to watch because of how Dave Aranda operates and what Auburn has the potential to be and has the potential to do. And then honestly, the 2 sides of the ball that we're not paying enough attention to, even though we've talked about them some, but that's going to be what happens with the Auburn defense against this Baylor offense. Sorry, Robertson, great. It is a new offensive coordinator in Jake Spavital, one that they're going to try to mesh 2 offenses together. So are they on the same page? Are they operating the way that they need to? Those are things that we're going to have to wait and find out also. But one of the games I'm most looking forward to in week 1, just because I think there are some uncertainties, some unknowns that could really shift this thing in multiple directions. We'll keep the conversation going there. Keep the conversation going with some other starting quarterbacks that have been named, some in the SEC. We'll discuss those when we come back next right here on Jox. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Anything on Justin Hokanson's conversation? Auburn, you want to get to? Injury to Jam Miller from Alabama, 800-239-9569, 800-239-WJOX. Next guest coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, Aaron McCann. We'll talk Michigan and just where they are currently. Josh Heupel, go to Knoxville, as we always in the 8 o'clock hour move around the SEC, give you updates from camps, kind of what's happening. Joey Aguilar named the starting quarterback at Tennessee. Now, it was reported that it was trending this way, so all those surprises can now be put to rest as Aguilar now has been named the starting quarterback at Tennessee, and Heupel was asked just about his command of this offense.
Thought he handled himself extremely well. That's today. I think he's got better from day one up until today's scrimmage, really, every single day. The comfort and control. He's handled himself extremely well during our night walkthroughs, which is, mental focus, mental sweat. And because of that, he's, extremely comfortable in what we're doing right now.
Mental sweat. I don't know if I've heard that one yet. That's a little bit of a new one.
Swentle.
Mental sweat. Have you heard that before?
No, but I love it.
That's all right. I'm okay with it. I don't hate it. I have not heard that. We knew this was going to happen. This is no surprise to anyone. What is his true potential in this offense, G-Mac?
I mean, I think the offense is really fun for quarterbacks. I mean, I think it's a great system. I think it's hard to be crazy high level if you haven't gotten a ton of reps. And I also think it's hard to be crazy high level if you're not surrounded by an excellent supporting cast. That's my biggest concern. Not so much the quarterback. I think the quarterback's going to be fine. I think Aguilar will be fine. Those that are like, if we could just get Hendon Hooker level production, we'll be in great shape. Yeah, Hendon Hooker led the FBS in QBR in 2022. He was elite. You don't even need Joey Aguilar to be elite. You need Joey Aguilar to be really good. And if he's really good, you have a legitimate chance of not just getting back to the playoffs, maybe making some noise. I think they're going to be good on defense. I think they're going to be okay running the football. My biggest question remains at wide receiver. What do they have at wide receiver? Can that be a difference-making group? Remember, 2022, Jalen Hyatt and company were excellent. Who's that guy going to be this year for Tennessee? And if they have that guy that emerges, look out. Tennessee could be right back in the mix. Because remember, there's a team that was picked to finish 9th in the preseason AP poll, or 9th in the SEC in the preseason. 9th.
9th.
9th. 9. That's down there. So if they get high-level quarterback play, and it doesn't even need to be all the way to what Hendon Hooker was in 22, if they get maybe Hendon Hooker in 2021, where you have a QBR maybe around 75, you're in really good spot. But that is going to require growth at the receiver position that we didn't see a year ago.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll see exactly what Joey Aguilar can do in this offense. It's one where it feels like running back's kind of been plug and go. Most quarterbacks have found some success either way, no matter where it's been or who it's been. But can he completely unlock it? Like you said, the offensive line going to be young and new. Receivers, talented, but younger, newer. Good group of tight ends. Don't have Dylan Sampson, but that might not be as big of an issue as maybe some people think. Josh Heupel also just on Friday's scrimmage and how that sorted itself out.
Great day inside of Neyland, second scrimmage. Saw us take some strides just in how we operated, both sides of the football, and special teams got good work there too. Still a couple weeks before kickoff, we got some growth that we got to go get before we go kick off. But excited about what I saw. Some back and forth during the course of it, and that's what you want at this time of the year.
I mentioned no Dylan Sampson on that offense, but Josh Heupel discussing that current running back room in Knoxville.
Probably as deep as we've been. Guys that have been here, been a part of it, have played extremely well. I think, Starr is a completely different player than he was in the spring, what he's done with his body, his movement, fundamentals as well. And the two young guys continue to get better every single day. Did some really nice things in the scrimmage today. Some of our group work, working fundamentals, playing without the football. These guys have been continuing to grow too, which is a big part of playing that position.
So it's going to be obviously one to watch with the SEC Offensive Player of the Year now gone. The health of Jermod McCoy, also a question for Josh Heupel, the Tennessee head football coach.
He was not a part of the scrimmage. No, he's continuing his rehab, and I think you guys saw him out on the practice field with us a few days ago, and he's continuing on that journey.
That one's one that's kind of taking its time here in fall camp for multiple reasons, G-Mac. You've complimented him a lot this offseason. How concerning is that for you for that opener against Syracuse if he's not 100% or able to go the majority of that game?
Well, a little concerning for sure. Now, don't know exactly what Syracuse is going to be with so much new and with so many departures, but it'd be great if he's out there and available. I don't think it's one that's going to cause Tennessee a ton of fits. I think Tennessee can handle Syracuse, but I would like for them to be at 100% by week 3. Like they have to be at 100% by week 3. I think they can get by Syracuse. I'm not sure they're going to run them out of the gym. I don't know how you see it. I think you might have a slightly more respect for Syracuse than I do coming into the year. I think Syracuse was kind of the beneficiary of a very manageable 2024 schedule. I think that comes back to earth in a big way. I think they'll be okay. I think they're a bowl team, but I don't think they're a team that's necessarily going to challenge some of the elites. And I think Tennessee at some spots has some elite personnel. So I think Tennessee gets that one, but by week 3, you get Georgia coming to town. You better have all systems go and everybody back for that one.
It's just tough because, like you said, there's so much new. I mean, the majority of that offensive line is going to be new. Steve Angeli is going to be new. You got Jonte Cook from Texas at wide receiver. Hard to tell. It is, but you've upgraded your talent at multiple spots. That defensive line was pretty good last year. You got to replace a couple of guys there, but you went and got some talented boys out of the portal. I don't know. I just know how he got him to play last year, and Fran Brown seems like a guy that gets more than a lot of other folks can out of certain individual players, and maybe that's where a lot of my confidence comes from. I think if things fall into place, do you have some guys like T.J. Ferguson should be a pretty good player up front on the offensive line. Cam Pringle should be a pretty good player on the offensive line, just based on where they've been, how they were recruited, and how they have played on film prior. Jonte Cook should help them. Justice Ross Simmons is a guy who can play. So they have the pieces. It's just getting them all together and getting into play on the same page. All right. When we come back, we'll go to Baton Rouge, get some updates from Brian Kelly, the health of that football team, and the emphasis over the weekend next on Jox. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning as we approach kickoff for week 0. What excites you most about this coming Saturday? Those games that we laid out, obviously Iowa State, K-State, and Dublin, Idaho State, UNLV, Fresno, Western Kentucky, Stanford, Hawaii. Most likely that first game from Ireland, but is there a certain part that you're looking forward to most, want to see a little bit of?
I think the Ireland game is really interesting. I mean, you got two teams that have legitimate playoff hopes and expectations.
Two good quarterbacks.
You have two quarterbacks hoping to take the next step. Rocco, I think, has done a great job the last couple of years for Iowa State. But Avery Johnson, just the ebbs and flows of being a first-year starter last year kind of got to him from time to time. Sometimes he was lights out. Sometimes he was very average. Here's hoping that as they continue to progress, he can iron out that play, bring that floor up a little bit, and allow that ceiling to go a little higher. They have Dylan Edwards at Kansas State. He's great back. Like that's a very intriguing football game. Now, as far as brand names are concerned, I don't know if it's going to do as big a number as a Florida State did last year against Georgia Tech, which had 5+ million viewers. I don't think it's going to do that. But I hope a lot of folks are watching, and I hope that whets the appetite, because that is the most competitive game in week 0 by a mile. So is there another game that stands out to you that you're fired up about?
No, it's tough to tell too. I just one game that kind of caught my attention was Fresno State and Western Kentucky. We've seen so many good players in and out of kind of both of these programs, but more so Western Kentucky this year. You realize that Western Kentucky, there is a very good chance when they take the field on Saturday against Fresno, 6:30 p. For Tyson Hilton's group, 16 of the 22 starters could potentially be out of the portal. 16 of 22 starters for Western Kentucky's football team are most likely going to be portal players that have transferred in.
You love that.
This cycle, not at some point transferred in. Just this cycle they've transferred in. And just the ability to continue to operate that way is fascinating. I mean, we talk about not knowing what to expect about certain teams. How can you have any idea what that team's going to be? Or what they're going to look like, or how they're going to operate specifically in a week 1? You do not know. And then E.J. Warner, we've talked about him. Kurt Warner's kid, Rice Temple, now at Fresno State. And see how Matt Ince, the former North Dakota State head coach, I mean, there will be emphasis on the run game. I'll tell you that. They're not going to get too far away from that. But to see sort of how that group looks and maybe what he can bring, because he's had some times where he's had a lot of success at quarterback. Can he bring that to a Fresno State team that's had some really good quarterbacks in their day? So that one a little bit interesting to me a little bit later. And then, I mean, it'll be a late kick, but honestly, Greg, what is Stanford? Can they be any sort of a player in the ACC? I don't think anybody has any real confidence that they're going to be a problem for anybody. And that's not just really on the field, the actual personnel. I think there are a lot of question marks about just how things, where they are from a support standpoint, where they are from a dedication standpoint, and then just the field, the team that they can actually field. There has been absolutely no buzz about it this offseason. And part of that is because a couple of quality players are going to be gone, but I couldn't.
Like Hank Bachmeier?
I couldn't give you an inkling.
Or Bear Bachmeier?
Bear. I couldn't give you an inkling of what that group's going to look like. I mean, Elijah Brown did play some at quarterback last year, so, okay, maybe. But it's a program that not very long ago was very proud. You knew what you were going to get every year. You knew they were going to try to beat you up. You knew they were going to be hard to stop. And then it feels like it has literally just vanished.
Well, what's unfortunate is they were one of those teams that was kind of a predictable, dependable outfit for a very long time. And now they're the opposite of predictable and dependable. And it's happened so quickly. I mean, every year it was rinse and repeat in the Pac-12 there for, 5, 6, 7 years. Stanford was going to be in the mix. They were going to be physical. They were going to be rugged. They were going to be a team you didn't really want to play. You're going to have above average quarterback play. You're going to run the football. You're going to have good offensive line. You're going to have a couple good, solid front seven defenders. You might get torched on the outside from time to time, but you're going to be really good in the front seven defensively. They did not allow teams to run it down their throat. What's happened? They went from being one of the more predictable outfits to one of the teams now that it's they're just searching for any identity whatsoever. And it's unfortunate, but it just goes to show you how much the landscape has changed. I don't think there's been a program in college football that has struggled to adapt to the modern landscape more so than Stanford.
There is one other team that, for a lot of different reasons, I'm excited about to see next Saturday, week 0, when it kicks off. And I'm going to tell you why on the other side.
Oh, boy.
We love playing this game of where are they now? Or better yet, did you have any idea they were still playing college football? So we'll play
Are
a
you
little
just going to
bit.
play guys that might have graduated and or might be playing college football? And we have to determine not just if they're playing college football, but what team they're on?
All of the above. We'll play every single portion of that game when we come back. But first, I'll tell you about Game Day Men's Health. If you are feeling on edge, if you're lacking energy, if you're getting poor sleep, Game Day Men's Health wants to help you. Maybe you need to lose some weight. Game Day Men's Health can help you with that as well. They have multiple weight loss programs they can get you on board with. And if the testosterone replacement is something you need, they can help you with that. Just go to Game Day Men's Health today and see what they can do for you. Better yet, go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com, sign up for the free consultation. When you do that, you're going to get a free PSA test, free testosterone test. They'll let you know where your health is. And then they'll present the options in which they can get you started with the different programs they offer. And you can save 10% on any of those services when you walk in the front door and say that you heard about them right here on Mac and Cube in the morning. Locker room environment, no stress. Also, holistic approach to health and wellness, and a minimal upfront cost from the programs that they offer. Book your free consultation today at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Another starting quarterback that was announced, Dexter Williams, has been announced as the starting quarterback at Kennesaw State. Now, this is interesting because he has been at Georgia Southern and Indiana. Well, they open up against Wake, and then they have Indiana week 2. So Dexter Williams at quarterback going to go up against one of his former teams in week 2 and opens up against an ACC team in week 1. That'll be Kennesaw State at Wake and then Indiana. Former Georgia Southern Indiana quarterback Dexter Williams going to get the start there for Kennesaw. We mentioned Joey Aguilar, the starter at Tennessee. Bear Bachmeier, the starter at BYU. A couple more we'll get to. What does the Michigan quarterback situation look like? They got a couple big games early. Is it going to be true freshman Bryce Underwood? Aaron McMahon will join us next hour to discuss. But when we come back, another team that's going to open up on Saturday and a couple of names and faces you need to know about them. Why it might get a little more intrigued than you're imagining now. Next on Jox. Welcome back in, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Started the show off with some Jam Miller news over the weekend. Injured shoulder, and we expect him to miss first couple of games. G-Mac, you said Georgia might be best case scenario right now to get him back in that lineup for the Crimson Tide.
Yes. I think that is best case, and I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. It's just an unfortunate injury, unfortunate time, and a little bit of a unique injury, a little bit more to it than just your standard clavicle injury. So fingers crossed that it's not something that's super long term, and it's not something he's going to be dealing with all throughout the season.
All right. Also, Dijon Lee apparently having a good fall camp at DB for Alabama.
Correct.
Somebody who has been stepping up, doing some good things.
Just adding more depth. And we've seen freshmen come in. Last year, for example, Xavier Brown did a great job as a true freshman coming in and learning the system and playing at a pretty high level. Dijon Lee, highly regarded prospect out of California. Very, very bullish on his long-term potential. And what's beautiful about this, remember last year, Damani Jackson had to play the last 6 games of the season with a significant hip pointer injury. The guy was injured and playing at far below 100%, yet still played at a really high level. Now you're not going to be forced to do that. Having great depth at that position, being able to roll guys in is really, really impactful. So depth in the secondary is a significant strength and one that I think people should feel very good about. I've been saying for a while now, I think this has a chance to be the best secondary in college football. I think it has a real chance of being that. So fingers crossed that can come into fruition. And hopefully that depth won't be needed because they'll stay healthy all season. But in the event in which a guy gets dinged, now they feel far more confident about the next guy up being able to step in and be just fine at the position.
Also, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like Ryan Williams' role could expand a little bit. And I'm not saying he's going to line up a running back or anything, but just maybe less stationary than he was a season ago. And that could be something that really excites Alabama fans.
Yes. I mean, we talked for a while this offseason about the addition of Isaiah Horton would allow Ryan Williams to move primarily to Z. But don't be surprised if there's a lot more in his arsenal. Don't be surprised if you see him in the slot. Don't be surprised if you see him motioning out of the backfield. Don't be surprised if they get more creative with some of the matchups they can create with him because of the presence that Isaiah Horton's going to have. The height, length, speed matchup that Isaiah Horton is going to draw a lot of attention from the opposing defense, which allows freedom to move Ryan Williams around wherever you see fit, depending on the personnel that you're playing against. So I think it's a really, really, really great thing that Isaiah Horton's there. I think you can make a case he's the most impactful transfer for Bama this year.
If I'm not mistaken, take me back. Rome Odunze used in very similar ways at Washington.
Rome Odunze, Isaiah Horton, very similar. Very similar. Like not burners. They're not going to run 4-2, but very physical, very good, willing to go across the middle, solid route runner for their size, matchup problem. And then you look at the other side of Washington, you had a guy like McMillan, who was phenomenal. Doesn't get the love that Rome Odunze got because Rome Odunze was just a grown man, but very, very good. Ryan Williams, I think, can fill that role, and that role is a significant one. And if you look at McMillan's numbers back in 2023, they were ridiculous. So
McMillan went for 559 and 5 touchdowns. Odunze, 1145 and 7 touchdowns, and then 1640 and 13 touchdowns. That was with 415 and 4 touchdowns the prior year. So back-to-back 1,000-yard years for Rome Odunze in that Washington offense.
Correct. So Horton can fill that void. I'm not saying he's as good as Odunze. I'm also not anticipating a 1,600-yard season. I'm also not anticipating 70-plus catches. If he gets all those, that's incredible. But it will allow, because they're going to have to pay a lot of attention to Ryan Williams. They're going to have to. But if you see him in the slot, don't be surprised. If you see him resembling that of a Justin Jefferson type role, don't be surprised. You now have 2, I think, guys that could take over the game.
Okay.
It's a pretty good spot to start.
All right. A great spot to start is with Train because you know that heat's coming back. It felt really nice last week, most of the week, and then all of a sudden Saturday and especially yesterday that heat hit. I think it feels like temperature yesterday was 105. that heat and humidity can be brutal. Keep your family comfortable with an affordable Trane cooling system. They've been recognized as America's most trusted brand 11 consecutive years. They're the official cooling partner here at Jox. Find a comfort specialist near you at Trane.com. It's hard to stop a Trane. All right, I told you I wanted to play one of our favorite games here on the show. It's kind of a did you know, where are they now? Oh, they're still playing college football. One of the teams who I think is going to be very interesting to watch this weekend is going to be UNLV, mainly because Dan Mullen's taken over. We know what his offense is. We know what his offense can be. Now, we know that Alex Orji, the quarterback who can do what? Pistol squats with 135 on the bar, whatever it is, or 300-pound dumbbells, something, whatever he did for Bruce Feldman's Freaks List going into last season, didn't turn out to be a great quarterback. But Dan Mullen has made athletes into good quarterbacks. He's sort of fit them into that different position. It feels like Orji has a great skill set for what he's going to want to do. Did you know that Alex Orji will also be throwing footballs to JoJo Earl?
Wow. Okay.
Did not.
A little bit of a name from the past there.
He was supposed to be Waddle 2.0.
That's what they said.
Watch out for
Better.
this guy. In 7-on-7, he was...
I think he's better than Waddle.
No.
He just didn't get enough looks.
How about another guy he might be throwing the football to? And get ready for a real, wow, he's still playing college football moment here on the show. Coy Moore. Yes, from Auburn and LSU.
God almighty.
I think Coy Moore caught passes on that 2019 LSU team, if I'm not mistaken.
He's somewhere on the roster.
I mean, the guy's been around for a minute. Yes, Coy Moore is on UNLV's roster this year. Also, go back to Dan's best Florida team that he had in the SEC championship game. Now, he obviously did a lot with quarterback, and there was kind of a gadget hybrid that was pretty good. What was the next best position that they had on that offense? Guy who was really scary with how they used him.
Tight end.
At tight end for UNLV this year, Varkey's Gums.
From Arkansas.
And
North Texas.
Correct.
Wow.
All I'm saying is, if he knows what to do, he has legitimate skill.
Yeah.
Like the guy can run. He's pretty physical. If Dan can get him knowing where to go, now obviously Alex Orji
draw the route in the deep.
Actually, Alex Orji had to get him the ball in a catchable radius.
By the way, Anthony Calandria is going to be a starting quarterback at UNLV. Orji's situational.
Okay.
That's my guess. Are you banking on Orji?
So it's basically
From
Emory
Virginia.
Jones and Kyle Trask from a couple years ago.
Yeah, play them both.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not?
Both on the field at the same time.
And somebody could interview him when Orji hurdles a defender and stiff arms a linebacker and throws like an 80-yard touchdown. And somebody can interview Dan after the game and say, should we be worried about him? And he would act like he's completely crazy for being asked that question.
I'll never forget that. Never forget. What are you talking? What?
Yeah, quarterback from him. 2 weeks later, Anthony Richardson starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you know? So yeah, just a couple of did you knows there for that UNLV roster.
So veterans, a lot of veterans.
They
on
got
that team.
they've got vets. There's no doubt. How about Greg at linebacker? Now, not a starter, but at linebacker for UNLV, Justin Flo
From Oregon.
and
Florida?
Arizona.
Arizona.
West Coast guy stays on the west side.
Love that.
He was on that Fafita T-Mac
Look how stars.
Arizona bowl game I had.
How many stars?
A lot of stars. Had all the stars going to Oregon. Yes,
5-star plus.
all the stars. Also, Jalen Lee at nose guard from
A&M.
LSU and
A&M.
Florida.
A lot of SEC out there in UNLV, man.
He's got some talent.
SEC West.
I mean, honestly, he's got some talent. Oh, potentially running the football that Calandria or Orji will be handing the football to. One, Kevon Lee from
Ole Miss.
Mississippi State.
Mississippi.
And
Tulane.
he tried Penn State. Didn't really work.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. It was a crowded backfield.
There's a lot of big school
Star
talent, if you want to call it that. Yeah. But bigger school talent on this roster for UNLV. So I just think it could be an interesting team to watch.
Yeah.
They got some names you've heard of. How great they've been at tight end for very long. Yeah. At safety for UNLV, coming down and laying the thunder, laying the boom.
The Lightning and the Thunder.
One Jake Pope from
Georgia.
and
Georgia Southern.
and Bama.
What?
Georgia and Bama.
I don't know.
Oh man, yeah, he's loaded.
That's a standard like Georgia to Bama.
Is that your
Bama
open? Is that
to
your open for
Georgia
the first game?
to UNLV.
And it's safety, former Georgia and Bama thumper Jake Pope. What does he bring to the defense, Bill?
Experience.
Knowledge.
Good helmets.
Well, he's been in the same system. So,
Correct.
yeah,
Can he
Wow.
pattern match?
probably.
Who's his defensive coordinator again? Who did he hire as
That's a really
defensive
good
coordinator?
question. I was actually just
He's got
thinking
somebody big. I forget who it is. Hang
that.
on.
Dom Capers.
I don't think
a
so.
throwback.
Paul Gunther, formerly of
The Bengals.
Cincinnati Bungles.
There we go.
And
Florida.
I don't think so.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
I thought it was Mississippi State.
Tennessee Titans.
I thought it was Mississippi State, but let me check.
Pitt.
Raiders?
Raiders. Las Vegas or
Raiders.
Oakland.
Or some high school Raiders. Somewhere.
God.
So UNLV will be an interesting team to watch.
A lot of experience there.
If that doesn't give you reason to watch that game of, hey, I want to watch a guy from any SEC school ever, they got one. I think they got the whole league covered.
Just pick a position.
Just there's somebody out there that played in the SEC at some point.
All right, hang on. So
Pick 'em out.
Gunther, Bengals from 2004 through 2017.
Okay.
And then the Oakland Raiders.
Oakland.
And then the Vegas Raiders. And then the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota.
Okay.
And the Dallas Cowboys.
Been
Defensive
around.
run game coordinator.
Been around.
But don't forget his stops at your
Is he
Sinis.
called, so he's a running game defensive coordinator. He calls plays on third down or first down.
Second.
Got it. Noted.
Big rundown.
Nobody runs on first down or third down in the
Not
NFL.
LSU. Oh, I thought you were talking about college.
Nah.
Not LSU.
Nope.
Nope. Ever.
So that gives you some. They also have UNLV has tight end Nick Elksnins from South Carolina and Florida. Tight end.
Heck yeah.
This got all the former SEC guys, except for Anthony Calandra, who's from Virginia.
You played in the SEC.
ACC,
You played in the SEC.
Big Ten, SEC covered, and feels like the other prerequisite have to have been at two other schools. Coach, you got a spot? How many schools you been to?
Enough.
Troy O'Mary at wide receiver, Arizona State and Texas.
No.
Honestly, if this team wins 8 games, it'll be like third-year Warriors, third school Warriors.
Third school Warriors.
Into the Road by Boys and Men is going to be their theme song.
God. How old are these kids?
28,
Six.
6, 5-ish. They're an older group. That cold tub's getting some work.
Work.
Absolutely.
What's their budget? What's their budget for acupuncture?
Coach, we're sore.
Dry needling.
He said,
Well, you've been playing college football for 9 years, kid. Of course you are.
God.
Mm.
Total degrees for the UNLV football team,
I'd say probably
58
I was going to say
already.
30.
You graduate? How many times?
Doesn't matter.
Look, trying to go for the third already.
Don't need it.
Man, I wish we would have had the online classes and the like stupid degrees these kids are getting now. In like 4 weeks, you
How
graduate.
many doctors do you think they got with all these degrees?
Couple.
It is Las Vegas.
I think they probably got a few out there. So they'll be interesting to watch. Jalen Glover, running back from Utah, is in there. Just turn them on. You'll see names you recognize for UNLV this year. I was trying to see if there's another guy or two on defense that we've heard of.
Where did JoJo Earl go after Alabama? Was it TCU?
That sounds right. I think that's right.
JoJo Earl from TCU in Alabama.
Okay, yeah, TCU. Man.
Heck yeah.
They've been there.
Waddle Jr.
Maybe. Tayshawn Lyons at wide receiver from Utah and Washington. Once again, third school. Dan's new thought process in college football. Third time's a charm.
Heck yeah.
It works.
Also,
You know what doesn't happen? It works on your first or second school. Third school, let's go.
that could be applied to his coaching career because it worked pretty well.
Do you think you could have been a
But
successful
third
football
time
player?
really could be a charm.
This is probably not a good question for you. Maybe more Damien. Do you think you could have been a successful football player at UNLV? it just would have been bad news for me. I'm just going to be honest.
Well,
maybe I would have been there were some points in college when I was too dumb to know some of the things that were out there. Also too poor to realize that I could actually take part in some of those things.
I think it was a little different.
You could change a couple
But
hands.
that's my point. It's like these guys are making, let's just say $50,000-$60,000 a year each. Like even if you're getting a pass your stipend, pass your food check for $2,500 a month, and that's just in the bank. Bad ball for me.
Yeah, there's a couple places
in Las Vegas. Bad ball.
Yeah.
There are way too many things that could go wrong.
I'll say this.
Can you imagine like the kind of, I saw he did have some magician in there. I don't know if he had our guy. I seen him our guy's name that came in here in studio, and I was like, you need to have this guy come perform for the team. He's awesome. And I think he did reach out to him because our buddy told me that he did. But the amount of like, don't do this people that he has come speak to that team like every single day, casino manager, strip club bouncer,
perfect,
police officer.
Don't let me catch you out
former
here.
drug cartel captain. Like every day he's got somebody coming in there like, God, these are why you shouldn't do these things.
Every day.
You see that big desert out there? Let me tell you how many bodies I helped take out there.
There's a few out there.
Be
careful.
Just like every day you're bringing a guy in. Captain of a bank. So, I mean, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
You have to. Oh, well, we'll see if it turns into good football.
It should.
Over under for wins UNLV this year, Greg.
Over.
What's the total?
About seven,
I think it's 8.5.
Okay.
8.5?
I think so.
No.
You don't think so?
That's, well, they do have vets.
Exactly.
Hang on. I'll tell you what it is for sure.
Those guys played a lot of ball.
Yeah, tell me what that is,
They
please.
practiced a lot of ball.
8.5. Yep.
Okay.
I'll take the over. Who's beating them? Mountain West besides Boise.
Hey, Dan's cooking out there.
Fresno.
Just because your schedule's weak doesn't necessarily mean that you're just
against who?
You asked me win totals. That does, shockingly, occasionally have to do with your
Damien
schedule.
said Dan's cooking out there. I'm like, that doesn't necessarily mean he's actually doing a whole lot. It just means that I don't play anybody.
Against who?
They do have Idaho State to open it up, and then Sam Houston, UCLA. God, they get UCLA week 3. That could easily happen too.
See?
No more Carson Strong for UCLA.
He's been gone for 3 years. It's amazing. How are they going to bounce back from Carson Strong's absence? I don't know. How'd they do
Dorian
2 years
Thompson
ago?
Robinson.
No, they got Nico though.
They do. And apparently, he's looking good in camp. We'll see how good. I tell you, who's going to get him is Air Force.
No.
Air Force will get him
Is Air Force good?
every year at what they do.
Exactly.
And what they do, fine. What did they finish last year?
That's last year, Greg.
Yeah.
I don't know why you get so consumed with the things from a year ago.
Because
Why?
it
Why do you
usually
let that
helps
bother
you
you?
determine where things are heading. Just saying, just
How many
something
returning
to
stars
watch.
they got coming back?
I don't know. Returning
They
production.
only lost 6 in
they
a row
were
last
5
year.
and 7.
Yeah,
They were
but-
great.
See?
Golly, how many close games?
But they actually.
You know what? At Baylor lost 38-3.
No, they actually lost 7 in a row, but they won their last 4, so they're back.
See?
They're trending up. They're trending upward.
What did they do after the Army game? They beat Fresno 36-28, then beat Oregon State 28-0, beat Nevada 22-19, and San Diego State 31-20.
You know what they did? I bet you anything. I don't know this for sure, but I bet you
they went back to the wing tee.
I bet you they ran the ball.
I bet you they tried to throw in those middle games, and all of a sudden they're like, what are we doing? Hand the ball off for the love. Just give it to a guy in a 30s number.
Run the via.
Get that thing fixed. All right, when we come back, Aaron McMahon tells us what's happening with the Michigan quarterback situation next year on Jox. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. It is 9:22, Monday, August 18th. Garfield making an appearance on a commercial during the break. Not one of ours on television. But I feel like Garfield has been gone for a while. Super popular back in the day. Tried to do like the CGI movies. Didn't work. Where's Garfield been?
You just had a movie like a year or so ago. Chris Pratt was Garfield.
What?
Samuel Jackson was in it.
For real?
Yeah.
Is it kind of annoying when we say people are in a movie when all they do is talk?
I mean, he was in the movie.
I feel like we should say talks in a movie, not necessarily in the movie.
You can't tell me that Tom Hanks wasn't in Toy Story. I heard him.
But he wasn't in it.
Yeah, he was.
No.
I saw the credit at the end. It said Woody.
Not unless he
Tom
was in
Hanks.
a green suit with all the light bulbs jumping around doing the movements. He wasn't in it.
Voiced by.
He was on it, not in it. He helped with the movie. I don't know. I just feel like it's random to bring Garfield back in your ad campaign because we haven't seen him in a long time. But either way. All right, so we got through UNLV's roster. We're all very intrigued with them now. Excited to see what they're going to do. We are going to talk Michigan with Eric McMahon, GMAC, and outside of quarterback, outside of all the NCAA stuff, which we don't really want to spend any more time on, when you look at this team, where do you think they fall, let's just say in the Big Ten? Because we think Ohio State is still going to be comparable. We all think Penn State's going to be leader in the clubhouse to win the Big Ten, everybody outside of the AP poll.
Well, I mean, Ohio State just has so much talent.
And then is Michigan in that next tier right there? Like knocking on the door of tier 1 of the Big Ten?
No.
They're a little further back than that.
I can't, at this point, seeing what I saw last year from their offense, they have to be better. They have to be. But in spite of their offense's growth, their defense is unlikely to be as good. Just the reality of having to replace difference makers at defensive tackle. It's one of the most important positions on the field. And I just don't see a scenario where they're going to be anywhere near as good at defensive tackle as they were last year. Doesn't mean they won't still be good. I'm just saying compared to what they were.
Yeah, but they weren't good at D tackle last year. They were dominant at D tackle last year. There's very few teams that can say they go into a game and they have 2.5 guys that can dominate you on every snap. There are not many teams that can do that. I mean, how many teams last year could say that? Michigan, Tennessee. I think Texas got close to it by the end of the year. Vernon Brown and those guys were playing at a really high level.
Yeah.
Georgia couldn't say that last year. Ohio State didn't dominate you inside last year. There are very few teams that can say there is nothing that you can do inside us, and we are going to dominate you, and we don't have to dedicate 7 guys to stopping the run because these guys are going to rip you to shreds inside. Now, I don't think they're going to be bad. You go get a Damon Payne who's got some talent, can potentially help you out. You go get a Trey Williams from Clemson, who, again, has the talent to be able to be that kind of a player inside. Still like Derek Moore off the edge. So in the majority of the secondary's back. I don't think they're going to be bad. I think the defense can still be pretty good. But like you said, it's not going to start with dominance up front every single down like it did last year.
Nor should it. Because with all due respect to the personnel that will be filling those voids, it would be almost impossible to anticipate that level of dominance. And it doesn't matter. It would be doing a disservice to the guys that just left, just how good they were. For example, Texas last year. Texas defensive tackles last year were excellent. They were very, very solid. They were not nearly as disruptive as they were the year before with Byron Murphy and Devondre Sweat, correct?
No.
Doesn't mean they dropped off the cliff, but they weren't as much of a headache to play against because the 2 guys on the interior couldn't wreck your offensive game plan on every single snap.
Fair.
So they were easier to game plan against. Doesn't mean that defense wasn't tops in the country. They were. I believe they were like top 3, top 4 team in the country on defense. Michigan can be that again, potentially, but they're probably going to be a little easier to game plan against because they don't have 2 defensive tackles that you might have to consider double teaming on every snap.
No, it's totally fair. So let me go back and ask you this about the offense. Like I had this question in my mind. What has been the best Michigan offense of, let's say, the reinvigorated Harbaugh era? So like once it kind of started to open, because he would win every game except Ohio State. Then he was going to get fired, and it's almost like the offense took a step after that.
Right.
It's like, oh, we'll let JJ throw it like 4 times a game. And it actually did become a little bit explosive. That was the best offense they've had, right?
Probably.
So,
well, I always think there was always more in the tank offensively, but they stayed true to their roots.
Have it.
Like
yeah,
they always had. If you needed it, it was there. They didn't really want to play that style of game. They played into their strengths, which was smart. They were patient, and while nobody wants to acknowledge the importance of ball control, nobody wants to acknowledge the importance of smart football, because everybody wants 2019 LSU offensively. Fair. Who doesn't? It's a fun group to watch. You probably don't have that, just being honest. Anyone listening to this show, you probably don't have that offense. But I think it's very hard to be a patient coach. I think it's hard to be a patient team and to not feel the urge to deviate from what has allowed you to be successful. I think Sharon Moore will not deviate from what they've done in the past. They're going to try to pound you. They're going to try to take some of the pressure off the freshman quarterback. They're going to try to be elite defensively at all 3 levels. Will they be? I don't know. I think they got a chance to be solid on defense, probably a top 10, top 12 unit at worst, just with how they play offense. So my biggest concerns remain them along the offensive line, because if they can't block them, because last year's offensive line was disappointing, relatively speaking. If they're not significantly better along the offensive line, then they're not going to be able to be what they want to be offensively, which is going to put more pressure on the defense to force kind of Wink Martindale to maybe be a little more aggressive defensively, and that's when you get caught.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think it's going to be fascinating to watch. Michigan's one of the most fascinating teams in the country
I'm
this
with
year.
you, yeah, and because there are those pieces that could help it really elevate, but we don't know if it can get back to that part of what it has been, and then if the other parts can go past where they needed it to be maybe a national championship contender. Eric McMahon will join us next to give us his thoughts on the Michigan quarterback situation and maybe where some of those other pieces are next right here on Jox. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Going to move on to Aaron McMahon here in just a moment. It's 9:33, Monday, August 18th. Listen live, joxfm.com. Apps in your app store. You can grab that, search WJOX. Before we move to Aaron McMahon, Greg, tell our listeners about Crocker Moving Services.
Well, they're a local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys, and you can trust them in your home. It is your whole home packed up move, your company headquarters moved across country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room. These guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you've purchased and need to get to your home. So call visit them online today for a free quote. The website's crockermovingservice.com. It's crockermovingservice.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Service for your next move.
All right, let's go to the Higginbotham hotline. Welcome in, Eric McMahon. Talk a little bit of Michigan. Been a topic of our conversation here for the last segment or two. You can follow him on Twitter at Eric McMahon. Following his work at mlive.com. Where's quarterback right now, Aaron? Where's this situation? I know Sherrone Moore says game week, next week, he wants to announce who that is, but where's the race so far?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's kind of worst kept secret in Ann Arbor. It's going to be Bryce Underwood's job here. If you had asked me this question before the spring, I would have probably leaned toward the veteran Mikey Keene, the transfer from Fresno State. Problem is he didn't practice at all in the spring, didn't take a single snap. He was dealing with an injury. And from what I understand, he's been slow out of the gate here in camp as well, a little limited in practice. So to take him at all into consideration, Bryce took roughly half the snaps in the spring. He's working with the first team at this point. We haven't gotten to see any practice, so I say this without having seen anything. But it sounds like it's Bryce Underwood's job here in week one.
Seems like it. Biggest curiosity for us is not so much whether or not Bryce Underwood's going to be good in time. But at this point, everyone anticipates the offense taking a significant step forward. How could they take a step back? It'd be almost impossible. But how much can you truly put on a true freshman's shoulders? I know he's gone through bowl practice. I know he went through camp. I know he went through spring. I know he went through summer. I know he's been the guy who's got a ton of rep equity. But the real live action hasn't really started just yet. So how will he handle it, and what are they expecting from him?
Yeah, that's the question, right? How does he handle it? How does it? Week 2 they go down to Oklahoma, so that's a challenge in and of itself right out of the gate, pretty much. So Michigan's had to lean on some of the folks around him. That they're expecting improvements from the offensive line. Michigan's run from 2021 to 2023 was very much predicated on that physicality and smash mouth play up front. They didn't get that last year. The offensive line took a step back. They didn't play particularly well. They didn't gel very well, so they're expecting a step forward from that group this year. They brought in the transfer running back from Alabama, Justice Haynes. I think Chip Lindsey, their new OC, is going to use quite a bit. Not only running the football, but I'm expecting some design screens, some stuff to get guys open, because that was a big problem with Michigan's offense last year. Aside from the offensive line, the receivers struggled, the quarterbacks struggled. They weren't very explosive. I went back and looked this morning. They had 3 plays of 30 yards or longer all season long. Only team in the country without a 40-yard pass play. So they're expecting more action this year. Bryce Underwood. They brought in the transfer receiver and Donovan McCulley from Indiana. He was highly productive a couple of years ago. Didn't play much last year. He's basically been positioned as their number one guy on the outside. So. Bryce is going to have a lot of things go right around him for this offense to look really good. And as you pointed out, there's not much room for them to go backwards here. I am expecting them to take a step forward. The question just is how much. And I think that's going to dictate whether Michigan's a playoff team this year or not.
I'm talking with Eric McMahon, Michigan football. He covers them from MLive. And if they do take a step, the defense is going to have to not take too big of a step backwards. Greg and I were just talking about how no matter what you have coming back, you are dominant with multiple individuals on the inside of that defense, and that just frees so many different things up. What can they do to make up for those losses? Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant were excellent inside. It's just not going to be the same.
No, it's not. And Wink Martin, the other defensive coordinators, pretty much said as much. They're banking on experience and depth, I think, to play a role this year. They're basically trading those top line guys, as you just mentioned, for multiple guys. One of the reasons Michigan was so successful back a couple of years ago and won that national title in 2023 was, they had some playmakers on defense, Mikey Sanders still being one of them. Will Johnson was on that team, but they really leaned on the depth. They had multiple waves of guys. They had no problems sending in there. In fact, if you go back and watch the film from the overtime game against Alabama in the Rose Bowl, Some of the guys that made the key stop on Jalen Milroe on fourth down to win the game for Michigan were backup edge rushers. So that's what they're kind of counting on this year. Guys that can kind of come in and they're not being a ton of drop off from the first team guys. So that was one of Wink Martinel's complaints last year in his first year coming in at Michigan. He just didn't feel like they had enough depth. Yes, they had top line guys. Yes, they had talent, but they didn't have. He didn't feel comfortable necessarily playing them 45, 50 snaps a game, and I don't think you're going to see that this year. They're talking about 10 guys up front. They feel like they're comfortable rotating. They've got experience at linebacker, and they got a lot of guys are kind of plugging and playing, trying to figure out in the secondary. So while this Michigan defense may not be as good as last year, I just don't see much of a drop off here. They have the depth, they have enough experience, and they have enough, I think, guys that have been in the system long enough where and look, Michigan finished last year very well too, and obviously they beat Ohio State and then they beat Alabama. That wasn't because of the offense, that was the defense. So I think they're in a way they're expecting to carry some momentum from last year.
Looking at Michigan's offensive line, I feel like that was the position group that got overshadowed the most last year. We talked so much about the quarterback and the inconsistencies they got from that position. I think we talked about the running backs at length. I mean, what did things look like if Mulling doesn't become what he became as the season went along? We talked about the defense and their greatness at all three levels at times last year. But what we didn't talk about was the inconsistency we saw along the offensive line for the first 10 games of the year. Hoping that that's a thing of the past, how much better can that group be across the board?
Yeah, I think it can be better. The question is how much. Last year, they really lacked leadership, lacked cohesion, and you got the sense early on that was the case. Now they were able to figure some things out late toward the end of the year. As you pointed out, Khalil Mullings kind of saved their butt in a couple of games. Otherwise, Michigan was staring at a 5-7 or even 6-6 regular season. So they've got experience and guys that have been around a while. Giovanni Ohadi's kind of established himself as the leader of the group, moving from right guard to left guard. They moved to the right tackle, who really struggled last year as a redshirt freshman, over to his more natural spot at left tackle. So I think they're banking on those guys being another year experience, another guys in the system of taking that step forward. Another experienced guy at center. The question marks on the offense on the right side of the ball. They got some another young, inexperienced guys they're trying to figure out. So I'm curious to see where things work in. Now, again, you talk about the struggles of the offensive line. Part of that was on the quarterback. Just Michigan was very much a one-dimensional team last year. They're running the ball a lot, and teams were able to key in on that. So I think that played a factor as well. So I think having Bryce Underwood behind center, he can move with his legs. He's a big guy. He can get outside the pocket and make things happen. That should open up some things. So we'll see where things go. But I think Michigan's banking on the group taking a step forward this year.
You think the receivers will be much more capable than they were a season ago?
That's I think the biggest question mark of the group. I'm not very bullish on the group. McCulley's an interesting guy, as I mentioned earlier, from Indiana. I think they're going to lean on him quite a bit. But they got a lot of guys, a lot of bubble screen, slot guys who just haven't really been able to make much of an impact so far. Samaj Morgan, Fred Moore. There's some young guys I think they're counting on. I can take a step forward, but it's really an unproven group. When I say unproven, it's not that we just haven't seen it; they just haven't done it. We got a pretty wide sample size last year; they just weren't able to get it done. So, maybe perhaps having a more effective quarterback, a guy who can put the ball up and let some guys who get the ball, maybe that helps. But aside from the unknowns, and what we're going to see out of Bryce Underwood, the unknowns of the offensive line. Can they catch the football? Can they get the ball to receivers? I think they're going to dictate whether this offense can move from maybe the bottom of the pack of the Big Ten to middle to the top tier.
How do you assess just the Big Ten as a whole this year? As you look at where Michigan kind of lands in the spectrum, I would probably have them kind of right there in that second tier behind Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon. I think Michigan is solid 4. Is that considered success if they finish 4th in the league this year, or should it be higher hopes for the Wolverines?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'd put them right there as well, mid-tier. I have an AP vote, and I think I had them 5th, behind Illinois in terms of the structure of the Big Ten. So they're going to be right there. I think a successful year. Sherrone Moore, their head coach, was asked this last year before his first year, and he said all the right things, right? We want to beat our rivals, we want to compete for titles, everything else. Well, they were able to beat the rivals last year. They beat Michigan State and obviously Ohio State. They just weren't in the title picture. So I think that's the next step forward for this program. It's kind of entering that second half of the season and being in the Big Ten title hunt. And then, again, at the end of the year, being in the hunt for the playoff spot. I think if they can, at least beat one of the two rivals, if not both of them, and then at the end of the year be right there in terms of getting in the playoff, I think that's a successful year. You don't want to go 7-5 in the regular season again. I think their regular season win total set 8.5. That sounds about right. I think a 9-3 would be certainly a next step forward. If you can do that, see the promise with Bryce Underwood, some of these young guys step up, I think that would parlay things, make things look really good heading into 2026 for Michigan.
Aaron, I know you cover Michigan, but I'm interested in your thought just on the Big Ten in its entirety. We mentioned it a little bit earlier in the show. Penn State, the obvious team for a lot of folks that they would pick to win the conference. We would agree with that, but there's a lot of love for Ohio State that we look at sometimes and say, where's this coming from? Just what's your opinion of the top of the Big Ten right now entering the season?
Yeah, I mean, it's top heavy. There's some sure things. You mentioned Penn State and their quarterback, Drew Aller. I think Illinois is going to be positioned there at the top as well with Luke Altmaier. I think he's probably arguably their second best quarterback in the Big Ten. And the rest of those teams that you mentioned have a lot of question marks at quarterback. Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan. I think that position is going to determine whether those teams, I think, are in the hunt at the end of the year. If they get good production on those guys, I think you're going to see a five-team race. If not, I think there's a potential here for Penn State to run away with this league. I know that's weird to say, given James Franklin's past and Penn State's past, but just a lot of teams bubbled at the top, but a lot of uncertainty for maybe the first time in a while. I can remember in the last couple of years, you had an idea of who the top 2 or 3 teams are going to be, and then there was a severe drop off. This year, I could see any 4 or 5. And we didn't even discuss Indiana what they look like coming back this year. So I think there's 5 or 6 teams that are in the running to really win the conference. But I think right now, if you ask me to make a team put money down, it's certainly going to be on Penn State, given the experience and just the talent at the top level there.
Aaron, we appreciate the time, man. Thanks for hanging out with us, giving us some insight into this Michigan football team as we approach kickoff. What's the vibe after all the NCAA stuff? What was expected? Not going to be as big a hit as people think. What's the sort of general consensus on the fallout from the NCAA's ruling on Friday?
Yeah, we haven't had an opportunity to talk to anyone yet. I think we're expected to talk to some coaches later today, but I got to think Michigan's happy to move on. I mean, this has been going on almost 2 years now. There's been, the program's been driven through the mud a little bit. There's been a lot of stuff said, a lot of speculation, everything else. At the end of the day, I think they're ready to put this past them. Someone who's covered this thing for the last couple of years, I was ready to get it over with as well. It was the speed at which the investigation ran. But, in terms of the punishment, it was about what it was expected. I don't think realistically anyone in Ann Arbor expected vacated wins, expected vacated titles. That just isn't something the NCAA does at this point. And I think working against the NCAA in this investigation was that many of the main movers and shakers, Jim Harbaugh, Connor Stallions, et cetera, are no longer inside the program. So then the question becomes, what do you do with if you're the NCAA, what do you do with this group that's left? Sharon Moore and these players, some of which weren't even on that team a couple of years ago. So, they're gonna pay a fine. They got hit in the pocketbook. I think at this point, given the NCAA's ambivalence to vacating stuff, I think the next best thing is hitting it where in the money aspect. They're certainly going to do that. Michigan's expected to pay fines upwards of $30 million over the next couple of years. So we'll see where things go. How Michigan recovers as a program remains to be seen. Right, Sharon Moore's in the second year, didn't have the best first year. He's made some changes at the staff. He made some changes with the roster. We'll see where things go. But certainly Michigan's positioned, just from a roster standpoint, to be competitive here the next couple of years.
Aaron, great stuff, man. Thank you very much. Appreciate the time, and look forward to catch up with you again soon.
Yep, thanks, guys.
Aaron McMahon, follow him on Twitter at Eric McMahon. Find his work at mlive.com. Covers the Michigan Wolverines. Surprised? He says Bryce Hunter was the guy. That's it. I mean, we're not surprised he's going to win the job, but
no surprise
that he's kind of got this kind of a grip on it. I guess I want to say this early in camp still, but we thought this was one with Mikey Keene and his sort of, I guess, leadership, his game experience could at least carry this into the season. It doesn't sound like that's going to be the case now.
No, but I also think Mikey Keene's a little limited from a skill set standpoint. I think he's had some good moments. Granted, it was a Fresno, but there have been some good moments. But I think Michigan probably, if they're being really honest this year, probably know that best case scenario, become a fringe playoff team. If they can compete with Ohio State, if they can get to a 9-3 potentially to just get in the mix would be massive. We all know that week 2 game at Oklahoma is going to be a tough one. We know the games that they have on the schedule against like Michigan State, who should be improved, Ohio State, which would be a challenge, a few others. Like 9-3 would be a heck of a year, and then you're at least in the playoff conversation. If you get there, then you're in good shape. And I think if we were to fast forward to next year with some of the pieces coming back, they'd probably be among the favorites in the entire country to win the national championship. So I think most people probably look at it and say, all right, maybe not this year to win it, but maybe next year to make a run, because our quarterback will be year 2 in the system and we'll have a lot of pieces back around him. And maybe people flock to play at Michigan by way of the portal to be with Bryce Underwood. Maybe you could be in a good spot going forward. So I don't think they're punting this year by any stretch, but it would well position them to be in a good spot in the future if they can show some growth at quarterback this year.
All right, we gotta hurry up and get to a break because it's back. Bad box score of the day. Our chosen sons will make a return next, right here on Jox. Our chosen sons, the Soldotna Stars, have a couple of rings the last couple of years. They know what it's like to win championships. We've teased it the entire weekend, so yeah, they will make an appearance in our bad box score of the day here in just a moment. But speaking of rings, Greg, our folks can go to Bromberg's to grab one.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Always recommend Bromberg's, where I've been going for years and years and years. Anytime there's a big event coming up in our lives, it's where I go first. Always appreciate the experience that I've had when I walk in the door, visit with their incredible sales staff. They're so knowledgeable. They're so helpful. They can get you pointed in the right direction. Gold, silver, platinum jewelry. They also have natural diamonds that are just second to none, one-of-a-kind pieces of jewelry. These are things that you absolutely will have in your family for multiple generations. So go check out Bromberg's in Mountain Brook Village store, which is under renovation, but still open for you. It's going to be an elevated experience when they finish up. I can't wait to see it when it's all done. It's going to be terrific. You can also go and see them at the Summit as well. So go and check them out. It's Bromberg's.
All right, let's get to our bad box score of the day. If you have not paid attention to this portion of the show or you're new to the show, we like to give you the best of the worst. It is our bad box score of the day. Usually comes at the end of the show every day.
Soldotna goes so hard.
And Soldotna is the king of this segment. Have been for many years now. They are the Soldotna Stars. They are a high school football team in Alaska. They took on the Palmer.
They're the Panthers?
They're not. And they've actually made multiple appearances because they play multiple times a year.
Oh, it's Alaska, so they're the Penguins.
No.
Oh.
It's an awesome mascot. How do you guys not remember this?
Pangolin?
Oh, they're the Moose.
Moose.
The Meese.
Moose.
In a Rail Belt Conference win. How incredible is that?
The Rail Belt, baby.
Rail Belt goes so deep.
Oh, you coach Soldotna. What conference y'all play in? Rail Belt. No, they don't talk like that in Alaska, but
yeah,
feels like they should.
Look, we found out we got some of us in Scotland, man. They probably talk like that.
The Rail Belt Conference. Soldotna gets to 1-0. 1-0 in conference, by the way, with a 78-41 win.
Whoa.
Over Palmer.
Whoa.
Remember, Palmer, the only team that knocked them off last year.
Okay.
The only one?
Only team.
I don't remember that.
Palmer fumbled on their first 3 possessions. Not great.
Did they fumble or did Soldotna punch it out?
Yeah, probably it. Yes. Soldotna bolted the ball loose.
Let's go.
Jolted the ball loose. How about Soldotna quarterback Owen Buckby? He was there last year. He's back. Senior quarterback. 6 for 8, 182 yards, 4 passing touchdowns.
Oh boy, that means they ground an absolute.
How's that clip? Yards per attempt.
It's pretty decent.
Not bad.
How about touchdowns per attempt? Not too bad either.
Don't hate it.
I will give credit to Nolan Gardner, Palmer Moose quarterback, who was 13 of 18 for 247, also throwing 4 touchdowns.
Okay, he had a good day.
But Soldotna got done on the ground also as running back Chase Hall, 14 carries, 154 yards, and a touchdown.
Attaboy.
14 for what?
Soldotna scored on their first 6 drives of the game.
What do we expect? These are boys. They're picking up right where they left off.
I mean, seriously, it's exactly what you would expect. Dominant. Now, defense, we feel like needs a little bit of work here. I'm not used to seeing 41 on the other side of the score box.
Right.
Score box. Box score.
Score box.
It depends on when they scored.
Score box works.
Did they score the 41 in the first or second half?
Owen Buckby, Soldotna quarterback, led the Stars to 10 scores in 10 drives.
Not bad.
So he's a problem.
They scored 58 in the first half. So obviously took their foot off the gas a little bit.
Yeah.
And, that's what happens. You let the other team come back. But the Soldotna Stars are back. 3-man front is next.